This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to a big edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Great to have you all with us. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis. Lots of puck to talk about. Great night in the Stanley Cup playoffs last night. A couple overtime thrillers, including the end of the Pittsburgh Penguins season being shut out, losing an OT 1-0 to the Philadelphia Flyers. We'll also get to the big win by the Vegas Golden Knights and the Montreal Canadiens pulling it off on the road in Tampa, coming home to a packed Bell Center on Friday night, looking to move on to the second round of the playoffs. We've also got some big Moose news as the Moose get ready for games 1 and 2 of their playoff series against Grand Rapids on Saturday and Sunday, 2 p.m. at Canada Life Center. Not great news for a couple of young Moose who were up with the Winnipeg Jets. We'll get to that in just a minute. Tyrell Bauer is going to join us on the program. So everyone in the chat that's been wanting to return to Bauer, good news. We'll talk to him later on. David Gustafsson is going to join us tomorrow as well before the games on the weekend. We're going to start it off going around the National Hockey League as well as into some of these empty GM seats with Matt Larkin of the Hockey News. And then we're going to hook up with Ed Tait. Interested to get Eddie Tait's take on what we learned yesterday from the CFL as to their moving forward changes with the dates of the season, as well as the quite contentious new playoff format. We're also going to dive into who the new Bombers are that were selected in the CFL draft. So looking forward to that. JBM, Jake Bowen-Moss, is going to join us a little bit later on in the program today. But yeah, great night of hockey last night. Little late, but managed to stay up and get through that double overtime on the West Coast between in the Pacific time zone, I should say, I guess, between Vegas and Utah. We'll hit that with Remo right away. Just before that, we're going to let you know how you can win tickets to the Moose playoff games as well here with Winnipeg Sports Talk. But before we bring in Remo, big thanks to our sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at CoolBet. We'll hit the lines with Jake later on today. Also, Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports. We got a juicy power poll coming up for Chud's on the program. Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. The Tri-Hospital Lottery. Get your tickets now. TriHospitalDream.com. As well as Manitoba Building Trades and the Manitoba Federation of Labor. Uptown Alley. Rolly's Transfer. St. Vital Dental Center. Manitoba Battery. Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge. Breezy Bend. Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, and we'll get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Michael Remis, how are you?
Feeling good. I was a little tired. I thought I was going to get to go to bed early last night. I was super excited. I was like, oh, great, Utah. Thanks for taking the lead late. Not enough time here for Vegas to tie it up. Well, 50 seconds left. Who was it, Dorofeyev with the hat trick?
Hat trick goal.
And then I had to stay up for not one, but 2 overtimes. Seemed like Utah was getting sloppy there. That second overtime, overskating the puck. You know, I know they had a power play, like pretty casual in the corner. Brett Howden just went and took it and shot and scored. 3 overtime winners in his career for the Oakbank.
Yeah, Brett Howden,
yes.
The pride of, Oakbank?
Oakbank, Manitoba. Yeah, he's got some crazy playoff numbers.
He's another one of these moves by Vegas. They get a player in as part of a deal. Or did they trade for him, or was he?
Yeah, he's drafted by the Rangers, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I think he was actually drafted by the Lightning.
Sorry. I'm just going to look that up now.
Yeah, look that up. But anyways, they signed him to a long-term deal at relatively low money for NHL standards, like $2.5 million, something like that. Gave the team the cost certainty, guaranteed he was going to be there in Vegas. And man, he has stepped up. You mentioned that was his third overtime winner. And I mean, a double overtime winner in Game 5 in a 2-2 series. It's outside of a series clinching goal, hard to have a more impactful goal when it comes to a playoff series than the scenario last night. And the fact that he did it shorthanded just speaks to what that kid brings to the table. Massive, massive win for Vegas, and a really tough one for Utah. Listen, we'll get to the rest of these series and what's coming up tonight in a minute. But some bad news today out of Moose Camp. Mark Morrison spoke after practice today, and Elias Salamonson, who looked so good on the weekend, but left Game 3 late, sort of in the final 3-4 minutes, stayed on the bench from what I recall. But Mark Morrison is concerned that Elias Salamonson is done for the playoffs and will be having surgery. He also confirmed that Nikita Chibrikov will not be a participant in this year's playoff run as well. So, going into this series against Grand Rapids, needing all hands on deck, it was such a big boost for them to get Elias back in Game 2 of the series, and obviously they were 2-0 with him on the blue line. That's a tough blow for the Moose blue line, and more guys are going to need to step up. It happens every year at playoff time.
Yeah, and going back to Brett Howden, you're right. Drafted by the Lightning, 27th overall in 2016, traded to the Rangers as a package for McDonough and JT Miller, and then traded to Vegas for Nick DeSimone and a 2022 fourth-round pick, and then signed a big extension, 5-year with Vegas. So that's a pretty nice pickup for Vegas. And for the Manitoba Moose, yeah, people are going to have to step up. Big loss with Elias Salamonson. Chibrikov, hadn't really played, been injured since the end of the Jets season, and he won't be a player. So, the Moose, hey, they managed before without some of those guys, and I'm curious to see what the Game 1 lineup is going to look like as we count down to the game Saturday against Grand Rapids.
Yeah, it'll probably look pretty close to what the Game 1 lineup looked against Milwaukee, although I would suggest we'll likely see Dom Divinchentis get the start after he won both Games 2 and 3 after Thomas Milic was in net for game number 1. But we'll talk about it coming up with Tyrell Bauer. And listen, that's a guy that's going to be probably playing a little bit more, getting some more opportunity to show what he can do at the playoff level. With the adversity comes opportunity for other players in that lineup, and we'll see what happens when the puck drops at 2 p.m. on Saturday afternoon. Now, Reem, we were going to do this yesterday, but let's do it right now and let podcast listeners know that we do have some tickets for the Moose playoffs. And what's great, normally we just have a couple tickets and we'll send them out. What's excellent about this is we've actually got, for our winners, you will get a code and you'll get to go in and select your seats. And say, you've got 2 kids that you wanted to bring, but you won 2 tickets, you'll be able to purchase, if you want additionals with your seats, you will be able to do that. So how do people enter to win a pair of seats for the playoffs on the weekend, Remo? Roll it out.
Yeah, winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. We'll give out some at the end of today's show, but also the end of tomorrow's show. And yeah, you'll get a voucher for a ticket. It's a code. Unique code. You put that in, select your seats for either Saturday's game or Sunday's game, and yes, you do have the option to buy additional seats next to the voucher seats. So a new initiative by the Moose with their ticket giveaways allows a bit more flexibility, but a bit different than just, hey, me sending it to your email. You do have to go in and purchase them.
Yeah, so, but bottom line is, if you want to win a couple tickets, and when you win those, if you want to bring a few more friends, you'll be able to do that with, beside you. But what you need to do now, first things first, is go to winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. And if you're with us on YouTube right now, do it, and we'll fire out a couple winners at the end of today's program. As they say, we'll get to more on the Moose a little later on when Tyrell Bauer joins us. But back to the Stanley Cup playoffs last night, Remo. We talked about the late one in Vegas, the big comeback by the Golden Knights. Brett Howden with the overtime winner, as we mentioned, his third of his career. How about the Montreal Canadiens? I did not think that they were going to win that game yesterday. And as I say, I have been kind of a lifelong Habs hater. I am no longer a hater. I would love to see a Canadian team win, and then I've changed my tune over previous years. This is such a fun, exciting young team. And man, the way they are going toe-to-toe with the team built like the Tampa Bay Lightning has really, really impressed me. Was crazy to see the favorite for the Vezina Trophy, happens to the best of them, Vasilevsky last night, letting in the winning goal on a goal that just simply never goes in. He got a piece of it, but not enough of it. It ended it, and then it was the youngster Dobish in the other net able to withstand the flurry of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the Habs are going back to a packed Bell Center on Friday night with the opportunity to beat the favorites in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, wow. Montreal's been building this young group for years, and you're really seeing them emerge here. Cole Caulfield with the 40-goal season. Lane Hudson looking incredible here with Montreal. And we had questions about the goaltending. Who was it going to be? Dobish, Fowler, Montembeault start with the team. But Dobish has grabbed the job and outdueling the Vezina candidate, Vezina nominee, and Andrei Vasilevsky. Crazy what's going on here. But is it that crazy? As did you know that the Lightning have not won a playoff round since 21-22? They've been eliminated in the first round the last 3 years, losing to Florida last year, the year before, and losing to Toronto, who can't beat anyone in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That
was their moment when they turned the corner. We finally won a round in the playoffs. I think that's basically it for this entire run of Maple Leafs.
I think they won a round. Did they win last year against Ottawa? Didn't they beat Ottawa another time? I forget. But Tampa, should we have concerns about their ability in the playoffs? It's crazy to think, they're 2 Stanley Cup champions. People are starting to put asterisks on those for the shortened season, saying they're not entirely legitimate, but they haven't had a lot of playoff success lately, and you don't really think of Lightning and think lack of playoff success, but that would be 4 straight first rounds for them that they don't get out of. This first round, extremely hard. These 2-3 matchups in both conferences, in all the divisions, the Montreal, Tampa, you have the Minnesota, Dallas. Imagine Dallas not advancing. So it's very, very tough when you have that draw. And credit to Montreal for building this team very slowly, but they've really emerged the last 2 seasons here.
If you're old enough to remember some of the Habs playoff runs in the past, there is some sort of Montreal hockey god voodoo that happens sometimes in April and in May. And I'll be honest, it sort of feels like that's happening right now again. For that goal to go in on Vasilevsky by Texier, the winner, that just doesn't happen. And it certainly doesn't happen to Vasilevsky. Although Dusty told me earlier today, Remo, Vasilevsky hasn't won back-to-back playoff games since 2022. I found that impossible to believe. And then we went and looked it up, and you just kind of laid it out. They haven't won their last 3 series. So the Habs are in a great spot. I can't imagine what that building is going to be like. Maybe at the end of that game, that building will be like the Wells Fargo Center in Philly. What a scene that was, as Cam York, of all people, scores the OT winner last night, chucks his stick into the stands, and then it was handshakes, and that's all she wrote. After a incredible season by the Pittsburgh Penguins with very low expectations, they made it, but they were favored in this series, and they ended up falling short to their arch rivals from the other side of the state.
Yeah, how about that? The Flyers. Didn't see that one coming. We saw them here a couple weeks ago, and man, they were tough to play against, forechecking, hard skating. And I still thought Pittsburgh was going to win. And we talked to Ruicki, resident Flyers follower, who thought the Flyers would be lucky to win. But 1-0 overtime win. I mean, shutting down Crosby, Carlson, Malkin, the incredible season these guys had. And it is funny to think of, how the NHL goes, where you win a couple cups and then you can't get out of the first round. I just mentioned Tampa. Well, Pittsburgh hasn't got out of the first round since 2018? And even the city, Pittsburgh, then, the Steelers and the Penguins haven't got out of the first round in quite some time. So very tough to stay on top. I really thought this was the Penguins' year to advance. I think it's a tough matchup against Carolina. I think Carolina is going to be a heavy favorite. But, hey, you never know. It is the Stanley Cup playoffs. And congrats to the Flyers, who I thought were not doing a great job on the rebuild. But here they are in round 2.
Yeah, we'll get to this later on when Jake joins us towards the end of the program, but the series price is up, and yes, you're right. The Canes are a big, big favorite over at CoolBet, minus 357 for Carolina, plus 275 for the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, 5 series continue tonight and tomorrow, and it's interesting. These games are all close to pick'ems. The Oilers are the biggest favorite of any of the 5 remaining games. But here's the why not question of the day for Not AutoCorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. We've got Dallas at Minnesota tonight. Minnesota can clinch. Edmonton at Anaheim. Anaheim can clinch. Buffalo at Boston in Boston tomorrow. Buffalo can clinch with a win on the road. The Habs can lock it down and advance with the win over the Lightning. And the Vegas Golden Knights can do it with a win on the road. 5 series, 5 potential Game 7s. How many 7th games will we get in the first round? I'm thinking probably 3, but I'd be here if we could get 5. I'll tell you that much, and have both Saturday and Sunday packed with Game 7 action. But I think I'd probably have to... I think I'm going to go 3, thinking that the Lightning, Mammoth, and Oilers can get it done. I kind of think that Buffalo and Minnesota are going to finish off their opponents in 6.
We're on the same page. I do like Minnesota at home. Again, the Stars, they're banged up. Rupe Hintz, I think that injury's big. Lundqvist injury big. Tyler Myers, I saw he's going to be a healthy scratch for the next game.
Wow.
Coming up. I guess that's tonight. And Utah at home. That's been a very back and forth series with a ton of lead changes. Tampa, are they going to go down? In Montreal, that's tough. Like the home teams, I think Buffalo's going to win, but Boston, they're at home. If they can play the way they did last game, you'd like the home teams to force the Game 7s in Boston, Utah, and maybe I think Edmonton favored on the road. I'm kind of surprised they're going to be their favorites. On the road.
Deciding game, you have Draisaitl and McDavid in the lineup coming off the win. The Oilers were going to be the favorites all along, although it is pretty damn close to a pick 'em. I guess they're minus 130 or so.
They look so bad in that other game. But, hey, we saw the Jets. Like, we know a team looking bad and then looking like they can beat anyone with the Jets, the way they played on the road. The difference between the road-home splits for the Jets in the playoffs last year was... have you ever seen it completely blown out on the road? It was a very wild series against St. Louis.
And 6-1 at home, I think, in the series. Yeah, it was tough. Listen, we're going to talk playoffs as well as some of the GM openings in the league with our pal Matt Larkin from the Hockey News. That is coming up right away as we continue WST here on a beautiful Thursday in the Peg. Matt Larkin next.
Hey, Bob, you hearing the news?
I can't listen to the news, Daryl.
This is different.
Oh, it's so negative.
Not this time. Manitoba's got these new jobs agreements. And when the government builds things like new schools and hospitals, they'll hire Manitoba workers first.
Really?
Creating good jobs with union standards and more apprenticeships for Manitobans. And we'll get rid of those out-of-province license plates on job sites.
Keeping our money working for Manitobans, eh?
You betcha.
Well, that's how it should work.
I knew you'd like it.
A message from Manitoba's Building Trades and Federation of Labor.
Spring into good times at Uptown Alley and eat, drink, and play at the most fun spot in the city. You'll enjoy 5-pin bowling, 10-pin bowling, a state-of-the-art arcade, and good times playing laser tag as well. And in addition, Uptown Alley features incredible food and drink options at their bistro. Pop down to Uptown Alley with your group or make it a party. It's the best place in Winnipeg for birthday parties for kids, teens, or adults, and an amazing spot for corporate events where you just simply pick your activities, any of your add-ons, what you'd like to eat, and the Uptown Alley staff takes care of everything else. For more information, go to uptownalley.ca, book a lane at 488-0000, or pop down and see him at 1301 St. Matthews Avenue. Got a move coming up? Lean on our friends and longtime sponsors at Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving and storage in Manitoba. Now into their 7th decade with over 60 years of experience, family owned and operated. Head over to their website at rollies.com to find out all about their services serving Winnipeg and southern Manitoba. In the top right corner, you can click on Request an Estimate. Use the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then simply let them know when you're moving, where you're moving to, and what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quickly and get you a great quote to get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they've been famous for now for over 60 years in Winnipeg. For all your moving needs, make it Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more and request an estimate today on your next move at rollies.com. Has it been a minute since you've been to the dentist? If it is, our pal Doc Harry and the wonderful staff at St. Vital Dental Center would love to see you. They've been taking care of generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans in St. Vital for years, and have now moved into a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with state-of-the-art equipment and convenient free parking right behind the building. They'll handle customers and clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of dental services, from cleanings and checkups to surgeries like dental implants. Dr. Terry and the gang can absolutely do it all. We'll do it with a smile on their face and make your smile look even better than it's ever been. Go to stvitaldental.ca online to make an appointment. Pop into St. Vital Dental, get that girl taken care of, and tell them the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. All right, lots to get to with our pal Mac Larkin from the Hockey News. I do want to mention that this segment is brought to you by our friends at the Prairie Toyota Dealers and the Toyota Tacoma. Check out the standard I-Force engine, boasting an impressive towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds. In fact, it's the most powerful Tacoma ever. So whether you're hauling gear to the rink or heading to an away game, you can tackle it with ease. And when it's time to load up, the available power liftgate makes loading your gear in and out a cinch. Experience power, capability, and convenience with the Toyota Tacoma. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Prairie Toyota dealer during Red Tag Days from March through May. Matt Larkin, Hockey News, joins us now. Matt, what's going on? Great to see you. Is it sort of quiet around TO like it is in Winnipeg, right? Or Daily Faceoff, I should say. the DFO guys. I'm thinking about your many long stops around. But what's going on in TO? It's a little quiet like it is here in the Peg?
It is, Hustler. First of all, don't worry. I still get hockey news all the time. I've gotten it during press conferences even, while being introduced. It happens. But it's funny, Hustler, you know, I feel like this time of year we're supposed to be discussing Connor Hellebuck's home road splits in the playoffs. It feels weird that there's no Winnipeg after the President's Trophy. There's no Leafs after 9 years in a row. So we're kind of just floating around. And if you look on the bright side, it gives us more time to focus on all the other series.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you say that, because I was out, as I usually do, get together with some of my buddies, and we're watching the game and having a couple, and, you know, I'm sweating through this Philly-Pittsburgh game in overtime, and you know, I was mainly more concerned, big Crosby fan, wanted to see him keep going, did pick a bunch of Pittsburgh guys in my hockey pool, but I said to guys, you know, there is something a little freeing about watching these games without having such emotional investment as most do with their own teams, and just being able to sit back and enjoy the playoffs for what they are has actually been fun. I'd far prefer to have the Jets in it, don't get me wrong, but there is something that is somewhat freeing about being able to just dive into that first round of the playoffs. Because frankly, Matt, we've been saying it all along, as great as the Cup final is and the top teams playing later on, I'm not sure there's a better 2 weeks if you're a hockey fan than the first 2 weeks of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Well, it's funny you mentioned it too, Hustler, because we have a piece coming out on Daily Faceoff in a couple days in which we all rank the rounds of the playoffs in order of preference. And I'm with you. I'm a round one guy. It kind of reminds me of round one of March Madness. I know it's chaotic and you're trying to pay attention to a lot of games at once, but there's just chaos. I think there's the novelty of the postseason starting as well. And you look at every year, there are markets that have been starved for playoff hockey. They finally get to see their teams back in it, and there's an energy to it. And plus, we get the occasional upset. So I agree. Round one is the chaos I want.
Now, listen, before we kind of dive into these series, the ones that are remaining and look forward to, I wanted to get your take on what's happening in and around Leafland. Very interesting reports that Matt Sundin might be back in the fold as somewhat of a VP of hockey ops, and former Coyotes GM, the data-driven John Chayka, could be the new guy running the show. What are you hearing about that, and what do you make of the Leafs potentially going down the road and bringing Chayka back into the NHL?
Well, let's see here. You think about the dynamic duo of a Hall of Fame forward and a young, analytically minded general manager. It sounds awfully familiar in Toronto. Sounds a lot like Brendan Shanahan and Kyle Dubas. And I feel like it's almost an overcorrection of ownership, almost admitting that they were too hasty in breaking apart that duo. I know there was a power struggle, of course, between Dubas and Shanahan, but I think what people took for granted was, yes, the Dubas built teams had trouble getting deep in the postseason. We saw it again with Pittsburgh as well, but they always got there. They were dominant. And once you're in, you never know what can happen. You could argue that those Toronto teams were actually pretty unlucky. They drew some great Tampa Bay. There's some tough matchups, right? They had Tampa Bay. They had Florida the year. Bobrovsky went on a crazy run. Maybe those teams were pretty dominant and could have, with better luck, gone on runs. And when you see what Brad Treliving did, he slowly morphed the Leafs into a team that, plays quote-unquote playoff hockey. They had their chance last year, but the more they brought in the brawn, the snot, the less the team was analytically inclined, the less they were able to drive the play, and the more they lost hockey games. It's just not a winning style of hockey. So I understand the logic if you're pivoting to a Chayka. The question is he the right guy to pivot to under that umbrella? Is he accomplished enough? There are a lot of questions about that, whether he's capable. And obviously he got in some trouble in his time with Arizona. At the same time, would you judge Chayka differently if he has the full war chest at his disposal that he would have in Toronto versus the struggling version of Arizona that was just trying to keep the lights on every year? I think it would be different. But overall, I don't want to say perturbed, but I'm smirking when I hear these discussions. I don't know much about Matt Sundin's qualifications for the job. It feels like he might be a figurehead, but I could be wrong. It'll be very interesting to see what happens in the coming days and weeks.
Yeah, I will admit, this has kind of taken a little while, and they said they were going to be thorough. I guess it's run by Keith Pelly, who, by his own admission, probably isn't the guy that would be, giving direction as to how to run your hockey operation. He's got a lot of business experience, but not really on the hockey side. So they're doing this to this thing. But the Nashville job is still open. The Vancouver job is still open. We're now getting into the point where you're having your final meetings with pro scouting, amateur scouting, big decisions to be made for the future of every team happening over the course of the next 2 months. You surprised that we're still in a bit of a holding pattern for all of these jobs as long as they've been open, particularly Nashville and Toronto?
I am, yes, especially because, as we have the under 18s wrapping up, that's when, like you said, the sort of scouting calendar ends, and teams really, they need to start getting aligned for the draft, and to not have that main decision maker installed, I think is a little scary. I think part of it is the perfect storm in which several vacancies opened up at the same time between Vancouver, Nashville, New Jersey, Toronto. We know the Leafs had their eye on Sonny Meda, of course, but then his dream job opened up in New Jersey. So I think if it was just a single vacancy, it might have been filled by now, but it's possible that the candidates are interviewing with multiple teams, and I think that's probably slowed down the process.
I got to get your take. We didn't speak in the last couple months of the season. I mean, the Winnipeg Jets, a lot of talent on the team. Had just won the President's Trophy. Fell so far off of their expectations this year. We were sort of, going through every level, and the team, I'm sure, is doing that same thing. Like, where did we fall short? Why did this happen? From outside of the market, what do you make of the Winnipeg Jets and where they are at right now as a team going into the offseason, knowing that there's still a lot of talent there, but the results just were not even close to what they had expected or their fans?
I think with the Jets, what we've seen over the years is a team that routinely outperformed its metrics because Connor Hellebuyck was so superhuman. And that's not, I don't think it's a pot shot at the Jets. Connor Hellebuyck won the Hart Trophy last year. And I think this season, the moment he was human, whether it was health-wise or just performance-wise when he was on the ice, I think it changed everything, and it kind of exposed what we already knew was true, that the Jets, they weren't as dominant as they appeared to be because of Hellebuyck propping them up. But maybe it's a wake-up call. I don't think this season is going to send the Jets into a full rebuild, not when you have Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor and Josh Morrissey, Hellebuyck, all these guys are signed long-term. They're still your core. Assuming everything is okay with Hellebuyck, his comments a little cryptic at the end of the season. But I think you need to stay the course with this group. It's just a matter of, can you fill in the gaps? Because obviously the Jets, as a product of being a good team, or a consistently pretty competitive team, their farm system is not exactly burgeoning with top end talent. You're going to have to find a way to improve it with some veteran help, I believe, at least while you're waiting for the next generation to be ready. So to me, I think the big problem is we saw on paper what the hole was on that roster before the season started, and it was second line center. Jonathan Toews was not the answer. Nobody thought he was the answer. I don't think Jonathan Toews thought he was the answer. So to me, the number one priority for Kevin Cheveldayoff, get an actual number two center. At the same time, I think you can take solace in the fact that Jets, they did improve down the stretch. They had a little push. They obviously started the year without Adam Lowry too. So I think circumstances were not in their favor. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get a stronger version of them next year.
You know what? It's interesting. You mentioned that run at the end. I mean, it was kind of fun. They did go from 11 points back to get within one, which was significant. But then sort of flopped in the last week of the season. In retrospect, that might be a blessing because we go into next week's draft lottery, Matt, with the Jets in the 7 hole. I mean, you could get some great luck and move into 1 or 2. And even with some bad luck, you might be 8, you might be 9. But it's been a long time since they've had a top 10 pick. And we've talked a lot about the importance of this pick, getting it right, and getting a foundational piece moving forward, because it's hard to ignore the age and where their best players are in the scope of their own personal careers.
It's true. And, I know that the Jets in the draft have not been as successful with their higher end picks recently. But if you look back at when they were picking in the top half of the first round, you look at when they picked Mark Scheifele, you look at when they picked Nikolai Ehlers, Josh Morrissey was a reasonably high pick as well. It seems like they do have a history of hitting on some of those guys, and then that kind of built the foundation that they have now. So I think it's a big opportunity. I'm also kind of laughing to myself thinking, imagine you're the Calgary Flames, who have never picked in the top 3. Picked once in the top 2 when they were the Atlanta Flames in 1972. That's it. You're the Vancouver Canucks, who finished last overall. And the Jets, they win the President's Trophy. And imagine the next year you guys win the draft lottery and swoop in. How crushing would that be if you're Vancouver or Calgary?
Well, it would be crushing for Vancouver or Calgary, and might I remind people, it would also be crushing for the Toronto Maple Leafs, because the Leafs are in the 5 hole right now. And it almost seems predestined that a team behind Toronto is going to get the number 1 or number 2 pick, which is going to bounce them back to 6, which means the Boston Bruins, who are still playing right now, will be on the clock at 6. And that trade has to be a big part of the reason why Brad Treliving is unemployed right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. The range of outcomes for the Leafs is so wide, right? You have the 5th best odds to win the lottery or win that 2nd spot. So you could be picking Gavin McKenna or Ivar Stenberg, and they're close to interchangeable. So it's almost the same getting the 2 pick. or you could be not even picking in the first round with that draft slot this year. So it's going to be so fascinating, and it's so pivotal for the Leafs, just basically or based on where they are as a franchise. Because if you do get the number 1 or 2 pick, I think most people believe McKenna and Stenberg are capable of stepping right in and challenging for the Calder Trophy. That's a huge injection of talent into your lineup. I think with McKenna in particular, just his specific skill set as a playmaking winger, he could start to replace what you lost with Mitch Marner, and that could accelerate a turnaround for the Leafs. So the next 2 months are just so pivotal for the future of the Leafs and whether they're going to keep descending into hell or whether they're going to turn things around and correct course while they still have Austin Matthews.
You know, while we're just on teams that are not participating, you had an interesting piece recently at DFO talking about the Chicago Blackhawks, and we've seen different teams go through these painful rebuilds that take many, many years. You know, the Sharks got Celebrini, and look at where they are right now. Well, we kind of thought that was the case with the Hawks getting Bedard, and yet they are still very much players in the draft lottery right now. Your piece is just about this offseason for Chicago. Thoughts on the job ahead of Kyle Davidson and why this might be the time for them to be as aggressive as any team in the NHL?
Yeah, I really think it's time for them to strike. They've been just amassing so many prospects. I always refer to it as the critical mass, and it's not just Connor Bedard, it's Lev Shunov, it's Anton Frondel, who I think is probably the favorite right there with Porter Martone to win the Calder Trophy next year. You have Roman Kanserov, who probably is coming over from the KHL. He led the league in goals, youngest player to do that since Kirill Kaprizov. They just keep piling up, and I could go on and on. Like their list of prospects, you could go 10, 12 deep on Chicago, and that, like, their 12th best prospect might be the best prospect on the LA Kings. That's how deep Chicago is. And you cannot graduate every single one of these players and have them all in the lineup at the same time. I think I cited in the story a couple examples where the Buffalo Sabres realized that, which is why they traded Matt Savoy for Ryan McLeod. And Utah did the same thing with Connor Geekie. They got Mikhail Sergachev. Once you have so many of those young assets, you have to eventually throttle up and start trying to be competitive now. In Chicago, they have the pick and prospect capital just bursting. They're getting another high pick. It's no worse than 4th this year. They have $40 million in cap space. So they can really weaponize that. I think they can be active in free agency and on the trade market and still afford whatever Connor Bedard's AAV is going to be, maybe $12 million, whatever it's going to be. To me, it's just a very pivotal offseason because you still have some of your young guys, whether it's Frondel, Lev Shunov, that are on your entry-level AAV. And you need to bring in some of your veteran talent while you have your youngsters for cheap. And that's a way to build a stacked roster. The Chicago Blackhawks did it in 2009. You had Kane and Taves on their entry-level deal, making less than $900,000. You go out and sign Marian Hossa. They win the Stanley Cup that year. And then they have to start getting creative with the cap once the second contracts kick in. It gets harder. And to me, Chicago, I think it's a window right now where it's time to take a big swing.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the pressure on Kyle Davidson's building. I mean, once you get the Connor McDavid or the Connor Bedard, you expect to move a little further than they have so far this year. And who will that Hossa be? And will it be trade? Will it be free agency? Like, what do you think if they could have whatever they want, what's the best thing to get the most out of Connor Bedard and take this team forward?
I think you can afford to be active in free agency, and you can go for an Alex Tuck if you want. I think on the trade market, someone like a Vinny Trocheck would be a nice veteran addition because he's a good two-way forward. He's a good leader. He could really stabilize your second line. That's the type of player I think they should be looking at. The Rangers are a team that they were already starting to move off some of their veterans. They might be more open to that. I also mentioned Elias Pettersson as an option. People are going to freak out thinking about his contract, but maybe Vancouver would be willing to eat some of it. Even if not, I still think he's a player who, yes, he's not the top-end talent he was a few years ago, but he's a good two-way center. And I think Chicago, they just need players who are ready as veterans to handle a lot of defensive responsibility, take some pressure off Connor Bedard, and that's someone I think you could bring in. Yes, it's risky, but it's time, Chicago. You can't just waste Connor Bedard's career. You don't want to become the Oilers of the 2010s that just were missing the playoffs every single year, amassing all these prospects with nothing to show for it. You got to take some chances.
Are the Canucks on the verge of being that Oilers from the 2010s?
I don't know what the hell you call the Canucks because they're all over the place. They're in the playoffs one year. They're out of the playoffs. They say they're not rebuilding. Then they trade Quinn Hughes. They say they're retooling. They just have no direction to me. They're the hardest franchise to peg, I think, year in, year out. They just need an identity. That's what they need more than anything. They have to have a clear direction, even if that means, okay, yes, we are blowing it up and starting over. That's at least an answer. And I think they inched closer to that reality this year, but not all the way.
Matt, let's get to the postseason. And listen, we saw that scene in Buffalo, game 1, game 2, game 5 again. The series is going back to Boston, but you were there for game 1 and 2. Tell us about the scene in Buffalo and what that trip was like as the Sabres returned to the playoffs for the first time in 14 years.
It was very magical, and I did get a chance to talk to a lot of fans around the building in the days leading up as well. What really stood out to me in terms of just the actual game, especially game 1, it was so emotional, and that didn't necessarily work in Buffalo's favor. So that first game in particular, you could feel the fans. They were almost in tears at the intro, but also they were nervous because they've been beaten down by 15 years of failure. They were expecting the worst thing to happen at all times. They were booing the refs. They were booing the power play across games 1 and game 2. I think the Sabres felt the pressure. And I think going on the road actually saved the series for Buffalo because they could kind of block out the pressure and just play superior hockey. They're the better team than the Buffalo Sabres. They've been the better team in 4 of 5 games. And I think they've really corrected course in the series. I think they've settled down. And I mean, game 5, it could have gone either way. They were the better team. They were getting tons of pressure in overtime. You give up a Pasternak breakaway, it happens. But I'm still pretty confident that Buffalo is going to pull out the series win because to me, they've just found their confidence again the way they're playing. They got through the emotion of the first couple games.
Yeah, not even Ryan Whitney's aborted chug could prevent this team from moving on. I think they actually get it done in Boston. But I'll tell you what, if we do get a Game 7 in Buffalo, I'm here for it. We've got the potential for a lot of Game 7 action in this one. Montreal going home. We want to talk about crazy buildings. I mean, I don't know what we can look forward to on Friday night from the Bell Center, but it will be 10 out of 10 on pretty much every level. How have the Habs done it, and can they finish the job and avoid going back to Tampa?
Yeah, there's so much pressure on Tampa Bay right now. I mean, the series, we all expected it to be back and forth. It's been a slugfest. Both teams are just extremely talented. Both teams have a great blend of skill and toughness. I think the difference in the series so far is Jakub Dobeš has outplayed Andrei Vasilevsky. I don't think anyone expected that. Dobeš was quite good this year. He's one of the better rookies in the league, especially down the stretch. But it's Andrei Vasilevsky. He's supposed to be invincible. He's got the playoff track record, the 2 Stanley Cups, the Conn Smythe. He just hasn't been himself over the last couple postseasons. And I think that has actually tilted the scale above anything else in Montreal's favor. And now what's scary for Tampa Bay is you're going into maybe the toughest building to play in right up there, Bell Center. The pressure's all on you because this was the year that there's no Florida to worry about. That's the team that knocked you out 2 years in a row in the first round. This was supposed to be the quote-unquote easy path. And the Lightning, to me, they were the best team in the Eastern Conference all around in terms of wire-to-wire, most balanced, underlying metrics, you name it. And if you're going to blow it now in the non-Florida year, when you know the Panthers are going to come back strong next year, it's a disaster for the Lightning.
Yeah, the other thing that listen, I thought Tampa would win this series. I think Tampa is still probably the best team and certainly the best team for the playoffs in the East. But there's something about that playoff magic around Montreal. I mean, the hockey gods, I think, have a Habs jersey in the closet because, I mean, your example of Vasilevsky last night, I mean, the winning goal never goes in on that guy. And yet it happens against the Habs in a playoff game. And then, I mean, with all those chances at the end, the amount of puck touches that they had in the last 30 seconds alone was head spinning. But there was the horn, and the Habs are going back. It's going to be a really, really fun one tomorrow night. Dallas, Minnesota. Where are you at on this one? Minnesota, they were staring a 3-1 deficit down the barrel in the last 5 minutes of Game 3, and yet here they are back in Game 6 with the ability to win it at home.
Yeah, that series is another one that I had going 7 games. But one thing has really stood out to me that's fascinated me about that series. And if you look at Minnesota, and I feel like a lot of people will just compare them to Colorado and Dallas over the past few years. That's who you're trying to measure up to because those two teams are they're so stacked with star power. Minnesota was always kind of the plucky underdog in that group of central contenders who had Kirill Kaprizov but were lacking star power. And I don't feel like that's the case anymore. What we're seeing in this series is Minnesota has the star power as well. Quinn Hughes being there makes a huge difference. Jesper Wallstedt is becoming the goalie we thought he could become. He's outplaying Jake Ottinger. You still have Kaprizov. And Matt Boldy looks like an absolute stud. I think you can make a case he's been the best forward on either team in the series. He's just so good at so many different things as a forward. You can't key on him as a goal scorer because he's a great playmaker. He can play a physical game because he's big and strong. And that's what stood out to me, thinking, okay, Dallas can't just outstar, pun intended, their opponent against Minnesota because the Wild are a pretty stacked group as well. I had the Wild winning the series in 7, and I still have that gut feeling.
Yeah, I'm with you. I kind of thought that the Wild would be like this was their opportunity. Now, you can't overestimate how important Rupi Hintz is to that team, and they are missing him big time. But really, you want to know the difference between these two teams, and this is why I feel pretty confident that the Wild get it done tonight. Dallas has done nothing at 5-on-5. I mean, their power play has been great, but Matt, we're talking about, I think the difference is at 5-on-5, Minnesota is outscoring Dallas 11-3. And, you know, Wyatt Johnson and Duchesne and Robertson have all been really good, but man, they have not had a lot of help. And that's from a team that historically, taken from us in Winnipeg, very, very deep. I mean, the Jets got killed. It was Granlund with a hat trick in one game playing from the bottom 6. I mean, they just haven't had the contributions elsewhere in the lineup. And this is the time of year where many of the guys that don't get the headlines are the ones that really do make the difference.
It's true. And you know, Dallas, they relied on that power play a lot in the regular season. Of course, Wyatt Johnson was the power play god of the entire season league-wide. And it's good to have that threat. But to me, if I look at what's the difference and why is Dallas not as dominant on the power play, I just don't think they've been quite diligent enough fortifying their decor. Because I think a lot of the play driving starts there. Whereas Minnesota, since Quinn Hughes arrived, they did improve a lot. It seems to have completely transformed Brock Faber, who's popped a lot in the series as well. But Dallas, no disrespect to Tyler Myers, but where he is at this stage of his career, I just think that Jim Nill needed to reach a little higher in terms of what he was trying to bring in at the deadline to help the play driving at 5-on-5. And I just don't know if what they have is enough. And they had an opportunity because you put Tyler Sagan's cap hit on season-ending LTIR. So from a cap perspective, I think there was the space to go shopping and find the player you needed. I just don't know if Dallas got it. And it's kind of coming back to bite them now.
Hey, Matt, before we go, one team that we haven't talked about that we probably won't be talking about much more is the Ottawa Senators. They were out. They never had a lead. Brady Tkachuk didn't get a point. It was really interesting to see the end of that season, just with all the conjecture around Brady in particular, his future in Ottawa. Spent an extra day in Ottawa, sat down with the media, I think said many of the right things. But what do you make of Ottawa moving forward, and how likely is it that they will have to come to a crossroads with their captain?
Yeah, I have to be very careful because I think the entire city of Ottawa wants to kill me after some things I wrote about Brady Tkachuk this week. Even though I'm from Ottawa, people, I'm one of your own. But to me, I think, and I've said this elsewhere today as well, so I'm sorry to repeat myself if you've been listening, but the Senators and their fans, I think they have to understand that they're looking through everything with the lens of their own love for the team and the fact the wound is fresh, you've just been swept. But if you sort of look at the history of the league and when these situations pop up, when you have a star player on a team who's not from that market, who's an American playing in a Canadian city, and the team is not making progress in the standings, you start to see little hints, little crumbs dropped. Even we saw him reacting to being booed, or when the Sens fans booed the national anthem in 2025. We hear Brady Tkachuk say, I was committed to the team, not I am committed to the team, leaving a door open. And you look at other examples. I mean, Quinn Hughes in September said, I'm excited to be a Vancouver Canuck. I have things to do here. He's gone 3 months later. A few years ago, Brad Treliving is no way we're not trading Matthew Tkachuk. He's gone the next year. And I think it would be naive to assume that Brady Tkachuk hasn't at least thought about it. He clearly loves playing with his brother. Look at them at the Olympics. And He's won 2 playoff games in 8 years. His contract's up in 2028. And I think, and this is what I wrote in the piece, I'm not saying it's going to happen. So Ottawa fans, you need to calm down a little bit. I'm just saying, if you're Steve Staios, you have to at least entertain the idea. And if there's a team in a market that interests Brady Tkachuk that's willing to overpay for a player in his prime with a huge offer that makes your team better, why not consider it? You've won 2 playoff games in 8 years. It's not working.
Listen, it is a great point, and I'll say this: the demand for Brady Tkachuk. I mean, obviously, you've got the superstars, the McDavid and McKinnon. There's a next tier of guys, and I'm not sure his production would put him into that group, but the total package of Brady Tkachuk has NHL GMs salivating. And if they did put that player to market, Matt, I think we would be talking about a haul for the Ottawa Senators that, that if done properly and if they nailed it, could set them up for another decade of actually being a real contender.
I 100% agree. And I do think it's exactly as you put it, Hustler, because he's got the total package and he's shown enough. He was great in the playoffs last year. He popped in the Olympics, 4 nations. It's that total skill set he has that I think would invite an overpay from more than one suitor. And if you're confident it's going to set you up, then you have to look at it. You have to consider it. Even though Brady Tkachuk is a lovable player, if there's something that makes your team better, why not look at it?
Matt, great stuff. We're looking forward to chatting with your associate, Stephen Ellis, as we get closer to the draft. There's a lot of draft intrigue in and around here right now, but love having you on to talk playoffs and everything else happening in the league. Let people know what you and the fellas have cooking over at DFO.
Thanks, Hustler. We're waiting for round 2 to start. We're going to have a lot of preview coverage launching over the next few days when we finally know all the matchups. I also have a free agent board coming out tomorrow looking at the updated top 50 going into the offseason.
Well, that'll be great. We're sort of burned on free agency, especially after the Gustav Nyquist experiment of last year. Doesn't mean we won't be perusing the board at Daily Faceoff. Thanks for doing this, Matt. Always great having you on the show.
Thanks, but hey, I hear Logan Stanley is available.
Hey, listen, right now, what do you think Stan gets on the open market?
I don't think post-trade has been great for his value. He's not playing very much, right? So he's going to get something because he's got the frame and he's young enough, but the trade has not been good for him, for his value.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got more opportunity. I mean, especially if they keep going. I mean, you have one game or make a big play. I mean, that can change very quickly. The 6-7, I mean, we heard the number 5 million floated out earlier. And to some people in Winnipeg, people think that's insane. I'd be shocked if it's below that. And I mean, I look at a team like San Jose. I think they have one defenseman signed for next year. They're going to have some money. They're certainly going to want another guy to maybe be some protection for Celebrini. If I had to bet who wins a bidding war, if there is one for Big Stan, I think it's there, but we'll look forward to that. And maybe in the next week or so, if you got some time, we can kick that around once we know where everyone's picking in the draft next week. Thanks for doing this, Matty.
Good stuff. Thanks, Hustler.
Right on. There's Matt Larkin. Daily Faceoff is where you'll find all of his work. And tomorrow, top 50 free agent list. We're looking forward to check that out. And I'm sure we'll be talking about it on the show. We are going to talk Bombers coming up in a few minutes with Eddie Tait. But, folks, it is time to get your tickets for the Tri-Hospital Dream Lottery in support of the Health Sciences Center, the St. Boniface Hospital, and the HSC Winnipeg Children's Hospital. Head over to tryhospitaldream.com right now and get your tickets and count yourself in for the potential to become an instant millionaire in the biggest ever grand prize draw with 5 dream home packages, each worth over $1.7 million in Winnipeg, Headingley, or Oceanfront on Vancouver Island, or the largest cash option of $1.35 million. You'll also get rewarded early for buying early with more early prize draws than ever. Over $400,000 in early prizes and 43 early winners, including a record-breaking 17 bonus winners. So join the winning team, one ticket, triple the impact and support of our 3 major hospitals. Go to tryhospitaldream.com and get your tickets today. You could also get them in person at your local London Drugs or Red River Co-op food locations, or you can call toll-free 1-844-654-4677. Let's get those tickets and win big in the Tri-Hospital Dream Lottery this spring. All right, we are going to connect with our good friend Ed Tait of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Still to come on the program, Moose defenseman Tyrell Bauer. We'll also get ready for tonight's action and check the lines and welcome in our pal Jake Boland-Moss from Coolbet. But coming up right after, a quick thank you to some sponsors. We've got Ed Tait on the rule changes and the Bombers Hall at the CFL Draft. That's next on WST. Princess Auto is a proud sponsor of Winnipeg Sports Talk, in a lot of ways synonymous with Winnipeg. Headquartered here in the Peg, founded here in Winnipeg, and now serving Canadians coast to coast with the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. So while we wait for the Bombers to kick off, get ready for spring. Those projects on your list with great deals throughout the month waiting for you at your local Princess Auto, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West in the city, out in Brandon. And you can always shop online 24 hours a day at princessauto.com. Spring is just around the corner, and our friends at Chud's Power Sports up in Gimli, Manitoba's power sports superstar, are ready to get this snow out of here. But before we do that, great end-of-season deals on sleds and snowmobiles that you can check out. But as we get excited for the snow to leave, great preseason deals on motorcycles of all brands, the best in ATVs and side-by-sides, not to mention golf carts for the summer up ahead as well. And it doesn't stop there. Amazing RV options for you to take advantage of the summer, and so many options when it comes to boats as well, in addition to outboard motors from Suzuki and Mercury. The best deals in town. That's how they've been in business as Manitoba's power sports superstore for 80 years. Pop out and see him in Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231, and shop online today at their website at chudspowersports.com. April and spring are here, and Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery are kicking it off strong. Spring Power event. Right now, you can save big on the batteries that you actually need this season. Lawn tractor battery starting at just $37.50. RV and deep cycle batteries from $69.50, and heavy duty power like Group 27 and 78 DT starting at $89.50. Need serious cranking power? Check out their 13-inch stud post battery, $94.50 while supplies last. All in stock and all priced to move. Visit Manitoba Battery on the north side on Logan Avenue, on the south side on Dovercourt Drive, and get powered up for spring at Manitoba Battery, powering what matters. Check them out online today at manitobabattery.com. Lots going on in the CFL this week. The draft, some rule changes. Let's check in on Bomber HQ with our man, Eddie Tait. Edward, it is great to have you back on the program. How you been?
I've been great. Huss, how are you doing, man?
I'm well. I wouldn't mind if Mother Nature would sort of get this thing going. But, hey, whether we have nice weather or not, we got a football season coming up soon. It's we're getting down to the short strokes before the fellas are back on the field at Princess Auto Stadium.
Yeah, you mentioned the weather. I'm supposed to play golf tomorrow. I hope. I'm not sure if Wade's listening or not, but I'm taking the day off tomorrow. But I would love to play golf without mitts on and without a toque. So I'm hoping Mother Nature cooperates, you know?
Well, listen, we've had lots to talk about this week. Just before we get to the draft class, couple announcements. What was it, yesterday or the day before, from Stuart Johnson? What's the buzz around Bomberland with, I mean, put it this way, I'd be surprised if there were any objections to moving the schedule up. We've talked about that for a long time. I think that is an absolute no-brainer. But very interested as to, what people are saying behind the scenes around the Bombers with the new expanded playoff format that will be planned for 2027. Important to note, not this season.
Right. You know, everybody was so fixated on the draft. There haven't really been many opinions tossed around in the football ops department, at least to the people I've talked to, because they were so focused on Tuesday night, and then the global draft was yesterday. You know, we could probably do a whole show on what the changes mean, right? And
Great topic.
Yeah. So one of the things that is interesting is that by moving the season up, which I agree with too, Huss, to having it consistently opening on on Victoria Day weekend, I think that's important. But it does impact the draft, which we just had, because now the CFL draft would get moved up before the NFL draft. And so all those things that happen around the NFL drafted Canadians, who gets drafted by an NFL team, who signs, undrafted free agent deals, that happens before the CFL draft now. And then that puts a little bit more mystery into what happens when teams go to pick their Canadian talent, because you're not sure how a guy's stock is going to be affected by what happens in the NFL draft that follows. So it's an interesting little twist. And I was looking back to the CFL season. I've covered it for a long time. It used to start on July long weekend. So now we're moving it up over a month. I don't mind that, but some of the other stuff that's happened in the last couple of years with all this changes, it's been a lot. Some of it I've liked, and some of it I haven't liked. But it's the CFL, right? There's always something to be blabbing about.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, obviously the hot topic this week is the playoffs for 2027. And I mean, I kind of understand why they're doing it. And I certainly understand that, they need to increase revenues and all that. I do worry that that it diminishes the regular season too much, that, you put so much work into 18 games. And as Brady Oliveira said yesterday, the playoffs and those opportunities are really earned. And if you're going through 4.5 months and eliminating just one team, does that take away from it? That's sort of where I'm at on it, although I do understand why they're looking for innovative ways to increase revenue for the league. Where are you at on all of it?
Yeah, I guess I'm the exception. I see a lot of my colleagues, a lot of guys that I've covered the league with for years, who are, kind of doing the shouting at the clouds, the old man shouting at the clouds thing. I like the idea, man. I'm going to be honest, and that might surprise some people. Some of the stuff that happened last year, I don't like the shortening of the field. I'm kind of indifferent to the moving of the goalposts. The play clock changes, I like that. This one I'm on board with, and that might surprise some people because I've been a traditionalist for so long. But, this league's, people say, well, when you make 8 of 9 into the playoffs, it just opens the CFL up for more criticism. Well, for as long as I've been alive, this league's been taking criticism. And I just, it kind of goes in one ear and out the other to me now, because I've lived through, the Ottawa Rough Riders folding, U.S. expansion being a disaster, Montreal leaving and coming back. And at the time, 6 of 8 teams made the playoffs there for a while. So I'm good with it. It is financially driven, the decision. Yes, there's a chance for the Bombers, for example, to have 2 playoff home games. I like that. And for me, even, and maybe again, I sound like the old guy's been doing this for too long, but I liked being in Montreal last year for that playoff game for something different. Winnipeg versus Calgary, Winnipeg versus Edmonton, Saskatchewan, BC, all the time in the West playoffs. It gets redundant, and I think sometimes change is good. And I look around at some of the other things. This isn't unique to the CFL. The NBA has changed its playoff format. So is the Major League Baseball. I'm a huge college basketball fan, and in the Big Ten, which is 18 teams now, which is dumb, just the sound of it, all 18 teams make the playoffs. They have play-in games too. So it's not unique to the league, although it does kind of expose the league's jugular to more criticism. But again, I kind of I'm going to roll with it. I want to see what it's like, and I don't think that change is necessarily evil in this case.
You do bring up a good point on the seeding. I mean, I think that is actually a positive of this. And if you had told me that they were going to go from 18 games to 16 games and played an even schedule where every team plays each team once at home and once on the road, and then put this in afterwards. So you're taking away some of the regular season, but adding more impactful playoff games on a shorter schedule, being even for everyone. I think I would sign up for that. I just find that, with the 18 games and exactly. And I mean, that is why we're doing this. Like, I'd never heard anyone saying that the CFL playoffs were broken beforehand. And I get it. They're making innovative ways to try to do it. I just think about a team like the Bombers and what they've accomplished over all these years, winning the division, having the path to the Grey Cup go through Princess Auto Stadium, and the additional work that'll be for the top teams, whether that values what they've done to get to that point through the 18 games. But we will see how it goes, assuming that it happens for in the 2027 season.
There's a lot of, points and counterpoints to all this too, and there's a chance that you could lose the first round of the playoffs and then play the same team again. And so how do you market that as a team, right? That's part of the problem too, is that could be problematic.
That'll happen with regularity. I mean,
you could have a couple games in a row on short notice, not know who you're playing. How do you sell that as a team? The other thing on this, and I'm not sure how much you want me to rant on this, Huss, but there's been a lot of games late in the year, like even Winnipeg's regular season finale last year, where Montreal was resting guys, Winnipeg rested guys. It was a meaningless game, and you're watching, no disrespect, but in the last game of the regular season, a lot of the Bomber regulars aren't playing. It's Terry Wilson at quarterback after Chris Strudler got hurt. That's not exactly a great advertisement for the league. And then the other thing, and then you can laugh at this all you want, but, in 1998, the Bombers started the year 0-10, right? 0-10. So they're done by August. In this format, it sounds goofy, but you can still have games that matter, the games that the club can sell into September and October that could get you in as a backdoor. And, you can laugh at that. But I'm old enough to remember the 5-11 Ottawa Rough Riders almost beating Edmonton in the 1981 Grey Cup, but that was the dynasty Edmonton team. And there's a compelling aspect to that if you can open your eyes and ears and let it happen instead of just swinging your fist at the sky and complaining about everything. I'll just say I'm okay with it. Let's see how it happens, and maybe it's going to be fun. Maybe it can breathe some life into the playoffs.
Sounds good. I'm just going to pull my fist down from the sky. Let's move on. Hey, it is refreshing to get a different perspective on it.
Let's try it.
And here's the thing. I mean, as I say, I've sort of been pretty supportive of most of the things so far. They've done a lot of different things. This has all come from the mind of our new commissioner. Mm-hmm. Let's hope he knows what he's talking about and actually make some positive differences. And obviously, we'll see what happens over the next couple of years. Keeping it closer to home, there's work to be done, though, for this upcoming season. And I got to say, it's been a minute since we've had you on. Feels like a lot of excitement, optimism. I mean, we'll get to the CFL draft in a minute, but coming out of free agency, this was a splash that the Blue Bombers hadn't really made to that level in a number of years.
It's a good point. I think they had to make some of those changes, Huss, after what happened last year. It's funny how 10-8 in this town was so evil after some of the years that I covered it before that, where 10-8, there would have been a parade. So, but I think in a way, it was good for the club to kind of take a step back after what happened last year, finishing fourth in the division, losing in the first round of the playoffs after all those Grey Cup appearances, and saying, okay, what did we do wrong here? Where do we miss? What do we whiff on? And they reset. And to go out and get Jarrell Broxton, the big offensive tackle from BC, Jake Serezna, the big D lineman from Edmonton and Toronto, that changes what you do at the line of scrimmage. I really like that. Jonathan Moxey's a proven guy at corner. Last year they had, I think, 9 different players start at corner. So that's, to have some consistency there is important. And then Tommy Neal signing Javon Santos Knox as a linebacker to add depth, the guy that Bomber fans are familiar with. I like that. The Tommy Neal one kind of grabbed me too, because this team now wants to tinker with the idea of starting three Canadians at receiver. And so Now you've got, you've added Tim White in free agency. I forgot about him too. That's a guy that's explosive. But now with Nick Dembski and Tommy Neild and Kevin Sklarcius, maybe the draft pick from one of the draft picks from this week, you've got a chance to start 3 Canadians, and there's a buzz in Bomberland in the football ops department, a quiet confidence that they found some fixes to some of the things that were problems last year.
Well, a huge addition to the offensive line as well. And,
Yeah.
Broxton was the number 1 player, not the number 1 offensive lineman, the number 1 guy on the board. And I thought that signing right out of the gate was a message that the Bombers mean business and had very clearly identified the offensive line, which had been really a foundation for their success. Building it up, starting with Stanley Bryant and, being a cornerstone of their, winning ways, was an area that they needed to get better. And they didn't just get better, they got the best guy on the market.
That's 100%. And so now you've got Stanley, still dominant, still the Bombers' best O-lineman last year at the left tackle. Broxton moves over to the right side. You've got Pat Neufeld, Gabe Wallace, Tui. Ellie's going to play center, or at least be penciled in to start at center to start training camp, but he'll get pushed. There's a lot of good Americans in this camp coming up too. They're going to really look at maybe starting 3 Americans up front. I just think the team had to get, to your point, Huss, needed to get back to what it did so well for so long, and that was dominate the line of scrimmage, both sides. And I think Broxton changes that, and so does Serezna, who can play tackle and end. And when Jordan Younger starts tinkering with the different formations, it'd be interesting to see how they move all those pieces around, because he's a beast. He's a tone setter on the defensive line. And I think it's old school a bit. It's smash mouth football, but that's been Winnipeg's brand, been Winnipeg's identity for a while.
Eddie, let's talk about the draft yesterday. And the CFL draft I always find so interesting, because there are rankings of players as to how you think they are as players, and then you have to consider, will they come to the Canadian Football League? Are they likely to be available this season? How long of a project? And it really does make different players' value, change, I think, in the opinions of different teams. First off, I mean, would have been nice if he was available, I'm sure, for the Bombers, but I got a hat tip to a local kid that went number 1 overall, in Giovanni Vaccaro.
Yeah, I talked to him in Edmonton at the Combine. Great dude, University of Manitoba product. Would have been a cool story. He's got a really good family. They're so proud of him. You saw the draft party he had the other night.
That's got to be an all-timer for the CFL.
Oh, that's awesome. Just perfect. And I thought Kyle Walters, the Bombers GM, said it well yesterday in his conference call, that it's great for Winnipeg football, great for high school football. This guy played at St. Paul's before going down to a prep school in Florida. Great for him. I mean, it would have been a cool story if he was there at 4, but I think, Edmonton and Toronto before Winnipeg was to pick would have grabbed this guy too. And he's going to be, I think he's going to be in this league for 10 years. So real good pick for Ottawa. The Bombers are pretty happy with what they did too. And we can get into that if you want, but what they did with their first 2 picks comes back to getting dominant and more depth at the line of scrimmage too, because they go defensive end and then a tight end with their first couple of picks, and then a futures pick with Kevin Klein, who's going to Miami Dolphins camp with their 20th pick overall. So I like what Winnipeg did.
Let's start it off just with some of the top few picks. And Noor Gatkoff, 4th overall defensive end, out of Wake Forest. He's born in Edmonton, a big guy, 6'4", 227. Seemed like from what we saw from the Bombers social team, they were pretty excited to call his name at 4.
Yeah, look, I'm just going by the tape same as everybody else. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. He's quick. He gets at the quarterback. He's made some plays. He looks like a difference maker. They're not expecting him to start right away, but again, because of the different combinations of personnel that Jordan Younger trots out on defense, it's neat to have a guy like that. You could have him playing end on some situations, and Cam Lawson starting at D tackle on other situations. And he's a guy that if he flashes what we think he can, that could give Willie Jefferson a bit of a breather, Jake Seresna a bit of a breather, and he just, he's going to make them a little bit deeper at that spot going into the season. And then the second pick is the guy everybody's kind of buzzing about, this Dante Daniels, the tight end from North Carolina State. I did a story about him that's on our site now. Just a pretty compelling backstory about how he got here. His mother is a drug addict, and he got taken in by a foster family, and so he's had a tough road to get here. But I talked to him yesterday, and I think Bomber fans are going to love him. And what's interesting about this Huss is that the tight end has basically disappeared from our league for a long time. I really like this because it's something that I've been, kind of in Zach Collaros' ear about, or even our coaches once in a while, saying, what happened to the tight end? Why do we always trot out the extra offensive lineman for that jumbo package when you want to pound the football? Why couldn't it be a guy that's more of a receiving threat there? So you add a guy like this who's big and nasty and can kind of is like a tweener between an O-lineman and a receiver. I think it's an interesting option to have for Tommy Condell in this offense. Now, I'm not sure how many snaps he's going to get, but what a threat to have on the field once in a while in a real versatile, potentially real versatile offense.
Did he did he see the behind the scenes video of what was going on for them to move up to the 10th pick to get him? You got to feel good to be wanted.
Yeah, if you have a chance, you should go to the Bomber X account and check out that clip. You'll have to scroll down a bit to find it. It's in my story too, and I don't know if he saw it. I forgot to ask him about that yesterday, but his reaction to the draft is in that story. His wife posted a TikTok on it, and it's kind of funny because they're watching it on the computer, and he said, "Oh, that's me." The Stuart Johnson calls out his name, and it's, "Oh, that's me." He had no clue. I guess he was thinking the same way it happens in the NFL, is that you get the call before the team picks you or calls your name and saying, "Hey, we're going to take you right here," and you get the emotion. It's opposite in our league. They pick you, and then they give you the phone call, and his reaction to it is kind of funny. So he's one of the guys I'm really going to keep my eye on next week when rookie camp opens, and along with Taylor Elgersma, that's an interesting little side story too, that it's going to make rookie camp starting next Wednesday pretty interesting.
Most definitely. Now, you mentioned the Bombers' third pick, 20th overall in round 2. This dude, 6'7", 320, offensive lineman from Boston College. Kevin Klein. Now, you mentioned this is sort of a futures pick. We don't expect this guy here anytime soon, but if he comes, could be a gem.
It's an interesting story. He's been signed by the Miami Dolphins. Now, sometimes that means something and sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the size of the guy's signing bonus, because that represents the amount of commitment they've made. And I'm not sure how much of a signing bonus he got, but from what I'm told, it's not substantial. But it means that he'll be in Dolphins camp till, Labor Day. And then because of his size, you mentioned it, Huss, I wouldn't be surprised if he got released, that other teams might take a look at him. So that makes him sort of 2027 territory for Winnipeg. He's born in Florida. His mom's Canadian. His dad played for a bit with Ottawa. So he was a late add to the CFL draft. And I know the Bombers have talked to him and said, "Hey, look, go chase your thing down in the NFL. But we want to tell you that, hey, coming up here is a pretty good alternative if that doesn't work out." So I think they've sold a Florida guy on coming to Winnipeg if possible, if this thing doesn't turn out with the Dolphins.
Well, the rest of you don't need to go through everyone, but they did sort of then really get into U Sports players, a couple of receivers, even a kicker at the end. Just anything really noteworthy, or was there a player or two that was intriguing when you were putting it all together for the rest of the class of 2026?
Yeah, you're right. They added a couple linebackers and DBs that can help on special teams. A guy that kind of jumped out to me was a Calgary receiver, Ben Britton, I think. He's a guy that took last year off football. He was a Canada West All-Star 2 years ago. Good size again at over 6 feet, over 200 pounds. It's interesting. The Bombers were at the Combine in Edmonton, and his name kind of came up in passing. And Kyle Walters said he told someone from the Calgary Dinos, hey, well, tell this guy if he sees a 204 area code to answer it. So the Bombers brought him in. It happens, but it's interesting for a guy that didn't play football last year. The Bombers brought him in for a workout before the draft, and because he said he still wanted to play football, and he's in shape. They like him. He's got good size. So that's another interesting one to keep an eye on. Everybody, like Kyle said in the story I did today on what he said yesterday, every team in the league wakes up after the draft and says, hey, we crushed it. And I think Winnipeg's the same. But I do kind of like what they've done on paper, and now we'll see what happens when they get out there with the helmet and shoulder pads on.
So rookie camp next week, we'll see some of these young men that were selected this week throw the pads on for the first time before main training camp gets going. And you mentioned Taylor Elgersma. I mean, man, we've spent a lot of time talking about his situation over the past year since he was selected in the second round, and now he's signed, sealed, and delivered. It was sort of fortuitous, or I don't even know the word. The path was all over the place.
Yeah, circuitous. Yeah,
yes.
I'm bugging it up too. I can write it. I can't say it.
It finally ended up in Winnipeg, though.
Yeah.
Listen, you maybe would have loved to have it earlier, but I just still think this is the perfect spot for him to come in and learn the professional game from a guy that has done it at such a high level for a long time, in Zach Collaros. For the first time in a long time, and again, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We haven't seen him on the field yet, but for a guy with the talent that he showed, I can't really ever remember a Canadian quarterback that was in the mix here in Winnipeg that might have a chance to be a player. And I mean, man, he's 6'5", 6'6", huge player. I imagine there's a lot of excitement to get him into the building and get him in that QB room with Zach this year.
Yeah, he had an Instagram post, I think within the last week, Huss, where he's somewhere in Ontario and Zach Collaros is pitching him the ball, and then he's dropping back and rifling it. And it's only like a 5-second clip, but you get a little snapshot of how powerful this guy's arm is. You know, he won the Heck Creighton Trophy. He was the best player in Canadian college football in 2024. Got a look from the Green Bay Packers, a look from a lot of other NFL teams. I don't think anybody held that against him. It's when he went to the UFL, that whole thing, I think, kind of ticked people off. Why aren't you committing to Winnipeg? He had the work visa problems. But he's a nice kid. He's a smart dude. I think he's probably been in the playbook already. I know he has, and I know he's been talking to Zach. And there's something to like there. And it's Zach. This is the cool thing. You mentioned his size. Zach called him that he looked like Ivan Drago from Rocky. And if you're a Rocky fan like me, I tell you what, get his headshot, put it up, and then get Ivan Drago's headshot and put it up, and you will be shocked at how much they look the same. So I'm going to start calling him Drago, and I'm sure there's going to be all kinds of Rocky references when he gets in Winnipeg. But it's going to be a fun story. Because to your point, Huss, it's been a long time since a Canadian quarterback, maybe never, that a quarterback of this caliber that's Canadian has been in Bomber camp. And wouldn't it be cool if down the road, you had Nathan Rourke versus Taylor Elgersma as the starting quarterbacks? That would be a pretty cool game to cover and talk about.
I'm just imagining Elgersma starting for the Bombers, going into the Labor Day game, and with the media going, Saskatchewan, I must break you.
Oh, I love it, Huss. Write that down. I'm going to steal that, and whenever that happens, I must break you. Well, as Zach said, there's also that clip. If he dies, he dies.
He dies. So, got a lot of material to work with.
That, man.
Eddie, so, listen, things are getting going next week. Fill us in on what the schedule is, when the fellas will be back, and what's going to be getting going.
Yeah, so rookie camp goes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday's usually kind of a meeting day, and the vets come in, and the guys that haven't had a medical yet, there's no practice. And then Sunday is the first full day of training camp. And I don't have the specific times yet, but, check in with our website and our social media accounts, and we'll get all that out to people. So, yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, rookie camp, and then the May 10th. Is the start of main camp. It's going to be fun, man. It always is, but it just seems like the storylines might be juicier this year than in the past.
How's Coach O'Shea doing? Is he chomping at the bit to get out there on the field with the fellas? Has the offseason been long enough for Mike?
Yeah, I talked to him yesterday. He's gung ho. I think they like what they did in free agency. They like their draft, and but he says this all the time. You get energized when the players get back and in the building. Like downstairs now, it's just us content guys being too loud. You got the coaches. Some of the coaches all the coaches are coming in soon. But it can be like a morgue down there for lots of stretches in the winter. So it comes alive again when the players start showing up, and I think everybody gets energized by that.
Well, the action gets going next week on Wednesday for Blue Bomber Rookie Camp. We should mention, while we're talking football and Princess Auto Stadium being busy, our old pal Lapo is going to be out with the Canadian flag football team for the weekend. We should remind people, Lapo's looking to get some butts in the seats on Saturday. So if you've got some time, head on down to Princess Auto Stadium. There'll be a morning and an afternoon session. And I'm going to tell you, I think that's going to be really neat for fans to see as well as we kind of get closer to the Olympic Games in 2 years that hopefully our Canadian team will be a part of.
Yeah, exactly. I know you guys had Lapo on recently. It'd be cool if a lot of fans came. I know he wants to give the players a taste of the big time, as he put it. And so, yeah, if some fans want to come and watch, it's going to be great. Lapo's really good. I think he's done a real good job to help promote this program. There's going to be like Daniel Peterman, who played for the Bombers, is going to be here. Marc-Antoine Dequoy, I think, is coming, the former Montreal player. Safety is going to be there. Jackson Tuchinski from the Bisons is on their radar. And even Lapo said over the winter that Taylor Elgersma might be a candidate as a quarterback down the road. It looks like it's Nathan Rourke's job to lose, and Trey Ford's going to be there. But it's kind of cool, and they still got to qualify for the Olympics. But it's a real good chance for people that are fans of this growing sport to take a look at the Canadian national men's team on the weekend here in Winnipeg.
Well, and just on Jackson Tuchinski, the former Bison quarterback, he is such a unique athlete and an all-world athlete. I mean, he played basketball for the Bisons as well. When talking to Lapo, this is such a different game. I mean, you often, will go with two quarterbacks on the field. So a great opportunity for him, and I know a lot of the locals will be paying close attention to him. Eddie, great having you on the program. Gang, get over to bluebombers.com. Full write-out on Meet the Blue Bombers 2026 draft class, and then long read on the second selection of the Bombers, Dante Daniels, Long Road to Winnipeg. It's all waiting for you. And then I know you'll have plenty to write about next week when the fellas get back and hit the field for Blue Bomber Rookie Camp. Ed, great talking to you. Can't wait for the season. You be well, and thanks for doing this.
Appreciate you, Huss. Appreciate you, Remo. Have a good day.
WST would like to thank our friends at Cleanline Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk throughout the Jet season. When we're doing the Winnipeg Jet lines, we do it with the gang at Cleanline, who are the leaders in Winnipeg residential and commercial plumbing, heating, and electrical services. Your one-stop shop with over 40 years of experience. And like the captain, Adam Lowry, has the back of his teammates, Cleanline has yours with 24/7 emergency services. So when you're in a jam at any time of the day, Cleanline has you covered. 204-500-2001 is the number. Write that one down, 204-500-2001 for 24/7 emergency services from the official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets. You can find out more online at cleanline.ca. Spring is here, and it's time to get down to Winnipeg Sports Superstore Royal Sports at 750 Pembina Highway to get ready for it. The bike shop is open with incredible selection of bikes, including e-bikes that you'll want to check out. Of course, baseball season is here, all the equipment ready to go for the season, and tons of Toronto Blue Jays merchandise. All the soccer players are getting loaded up with the best selection of boots and unis around, not to mention tons of World Cup merch of Canada and the rest of the world just in time for kickoff. And for all you NFL fans, the draft is coming up in just a couple weeks. The NFL draft hats are all up on the wall, and for the first time in a while, they're actually really nice. So you can pop down there, get ready for spring, the World Cup, the NFL draft, Blue Jays season, and more at Royal Sports. 50 years plus, family owned and operated at 750 Pembina Highway. Much more to come on WST, but first, a big shout out to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's get ready for the playoff games at Canada Life Center. 2 o'clock Saturday, 2 o'clock Sunday, games 1 and 2. Moose and Grand Rapids Griffins. If you haven't entered the ticket contest already, go to winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. Get in there. We'll have a couple winners at the end of the show today, and we'll have a few more tomorrow. Heading into the weekend, and speaking of the Moose, the big man himself, number 2, Tyrell Bauer, returns to WST. What is going on? It's great to have you back on the show.
Yeah, that intro's maybe more than I deserve. It's good to see you, Andrew. Thanks for having me.
Hey, listen, congrats on the big win for the fellas on the weekend. First game didn't go the way you wanted to, but you guys pulled it up and got it done in 2 impressive, tight games that sent you on to the next round. How will you look back at round 1?
Yeah, and an exciting round for sure. I mean, we go way back with Milwaukee. It was our first series win since 2018, I believe. Just a gritty series, like you said. That 3-game set. It's always intriguing. You know, we lose game 1, and now we got 2 do or die games coming up. But it's also hard to go 16-0 in the playoffs, or I guess maybe a little altered in the American League. But so we're comfortable, and we went in and had a good mindset, and we came out ready. We showed that.
It seemed like you guys had, still a lot of confidence in the room. And teams will often say the right things, but it really did, I think, lead to 2 really professional performances. I mean, good starts, solid 60 minutes, and performances where pretty much everyone was playing, everyone was a part of it, and everyone in a Moose jersey had a piece of the wins.
Yeah, well, that's what this time of year is all about. You prepare for it. Everybody prepares individually, and you always hear that you want to be firing on all cylinders come playoff time. And we believe we did that. We thought we had a strong game 1. It didn't go our way, but like you said, there was a confidence in the room, a confidence in each other as players, as individuals, of belief that everybody can do their job. And come together, and that's exactly what we did. We went out, we executed that. They were tight games, they were close games. We could feel the energy. We could feel the energy from the crowd and amongst each other, and we just kind of let that snowball.
We've talked a lot about the team this season, and it was a balanced team, a 4-line team, a squad that was not just relying on 1 or 2 guys to do the scoring, but that also led to a ton of low-scoring, tight games throughout the year. And I was telling you before, I always remember Paul Maurice saying, the teams, he wanted his team to become, the quote was, comfortable at being uncomfortable, being in those tight spots. And I have to say, especially in Game 3, the way you guys played, holding the lead after Milwaukee scored, in a lot of ways, it seems like you guys have been building and playing in tight games like this all year long. So you're maybe more prepared than many other teams would be for the tension of these tight playoff moments.
Yeah. That's well said. Throughout the year, our playing style has been heavily focused on defending. And like you mentioned, it has brought us into a lot of tight games, a lot of 1-goal games, 2-goal games, defending leads late. So we do have a level of familiarity there with that. That being said, when it's 1-1 going into a third period where you could go home, there's always emotions and tension around that. But once you're out there on the ice, you've been preparing for it. You've been in that spot. You're comfortable, and then it's just time to do your job. And everybody was able to execute that.
Long week off of preparation, which hopefully be a good thing. Grand Rapids is going to be going a pretty long time without playing a hockey game, but. Take us back to Sunday. How was Sunday night with the fellas, knowing that you'd crossed the first goal and now had a little bit of time to get ready for round 2.
Yeah, it's always a special feeling when you win a playoff series. I mean, and talking to guys around the room kind of before and after, it's a hard league to win playoff series. And we've had guys, a lot of guys where it's their first series win or their second series win, and veteran players, guys that have been in this league for a long time. Me myself, it was my first, in my 4 years here. So it's not an easy league to win playoff series in. So we were really excited about that, and kind of gives you that experience, and it was something the guys really rallied around, getting that win in game 2 and feeling that energy and that emotion, feeling the crowd, feeling the joy that came after that, and also at the same time having to reset and do it again in a day or two. That was a good learning moment for a lot of guys, but also, a very happy moment for a lot of guys. And we think that only helped us going into this round.
Tyrell Bauer with us from the Manitoba Moose. Game 1 and 2, Saturday and Sunday, 2 p.m. at Canada Life Center against the Grand Rapids Griffins. This is a big test. Even people that, weren't following the AHL in and out every day, heard about what this Grand Rapids team was doing. You guys played them a lot this year, probably, 7 or 8 times, being in that same division. Tell us about what you learned about the Grand Rapids Griffins and how good your team is going to need to be if you want to be on the right end of this series.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's no secret what they were able to accomplish in the American Hockey League this year. They're a good team. They're a fast team. They're a skilled team. And we feel like, with what we just went through and what we've been preparing for, our MO is defending, and that doesn't change for us. We have a lot of confidence in our group. We just went through a 3-game war with a hard Milwaukee club. We had the week off, to tend to maybe some bruises, couple ice packs, and then get our legs under us with some practice. So, we feel good going into this series. We're going to have to be good, but that's what time of year it is anyway. Everybody has to be good. They're going to have to be good too. So we're excited for this one.
Dom DiVincentis went in game 2 and put 2 great performances back to back. He was on with us yesterday and spoke of yourself and the rest of the defense and really the team, how hard they were working in front of him, to achieve the goal. From your perspective, what do you think of the young guy coming in and what he was able to do for your team, giving up just 1 in back-to-back games?
Yeah, it was incredible. We chatted a little bit earlier there about those 1-goal games, those needing composure, being comfortable in those spots, and that's on everybody, including the goaltender. There's going to be times where our defense breaks down, or there's a system malfunction or something rather. That's just hockey. And that's when you need your goaltender sometimes to come up with a big save, and he did. And that gave us a lot of energy, feeling that from him, when he comes across and makes that big glove save. Might have been game 2. Can't quite remember. Everybody's up on the bench. Everybody's feeling that. The crowd's going nuts. He's feeling that. You can see it kind of grow in him. So, we're focused on defense, team defense, and that includes the goaltender. We got a lot of confidence in those guys back there.
And listen, first things first, keep the puck out of your own net. But it does seem like, with Lambert and Yeager back and Fagemo being a part of it, your old roomie Parker Ford getting into the mix, a lot of guys getting chances and converting on them. And again, you just need to be 1 goal better than the other team. But it seems like this Moose team is getting offense from a lot of different areas, and that's got to be a good thing for you guys going into a series where you're going to need a few.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's been a strength of our team all year is our depth. We can go out there and we can roll 4 lines and expect results from every line. We have scoring up and down the lineup. I even think that we've had chances. I think it could even be a lot more, ironically, bad luck or whatever you want to call it. But we got a lot of confidence in all 4 lines going out there and being able to produce and give us momentum.
Tyrell, game number 1 and game number 2, as we said, are at home. It's sort of a strange one where it goes 2 and then 3 at the other side. So getting off to a good start is really mandatory for you guys in the situation that you're at. Coming off a couple big wins in front of great crowds, how excited are the fellas to get back out in front of Moose fans for hopefully another couple great crowds and get this series off to a good start at home?
Yeah, it's that time of year. You're itching to get out there, coming off those games, in adrenaline high, lots of energy. And then you got the week where you kind of take a few breaths, the next couple days. And then already you're like, when's the next game? When are we going? I think a big word for our group too is just composure. There's going to be a lot going on in a game, in a series. And we just have to be able to know that we're okay and that we trust our teammates, we trust ourselves. So yes, we do most definitely want to get off to a good start, as anybody in any league would want to in a playoff series. But we're going to go in there. We're going to focus on ourselves. We're going to stay composed. We're going to defend. We're going to play hard, and we want to put on a good show for our crowd these next 2 games.
Well, listen, I mean, just thoughts on the crowd from the weekend. I mean, I was in there for the game. The energy in the building was awesome. Obviously, you guys did your part in being up and getting the lead. And I have a feeling that if last round is any indication of what we'll have coming up on the weekend, these could be the 2 best atmospheres for Moose hockey all season long.
Absolutely incredible. It was you can really feel it. You can feel the support. You can feel the energy. I remember watching a couple of years ago now, I guess. It was a Jets playoff game against the Vegas Golden Knights, I believe. And the energy in the building, I couldn't believe it. I was getting goosebumps like a little kid watching hockey again. And standing there in that anthem, games 2 and 3, and, here in True North, get belted out at almost the same caliber was special. And the group fed off it. And we just are so grateful and appreciative for our fans. And we're glad we were able to give them a good 2 games, 3 games there for them to cheer for, and another 2 coming up.
Well, I'll tell you what, Winnipeg hockey fans are appreciative that you guys are still going and looking forward to Saturday and Sunday afternoon. Again, moosehockey.com for tickets. Again, you can also get her in our WST contest at winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. Tyrell, thank you very much for the time. It is always great to have you on the program. Good luck to you and the fellas on the weekend and throughout the series. And fingers crossed, we'll have another series or 2 to have you back on the show as the Calder Cup run continues. All the best and good luck.
Absolutely. The pleasure is mine, Andrew. We'll talk soon.
Take it easy. There it is, the big guy, Tyrell Bauer. Ticonapoli, I'm sure he's in the chat, loving all of this. Can't wait for it. Jake is going to join us in a little bit, and then we'll announce a couple of winners a little bit after that. But we do have a playoff power poll for the Stanley Cup playoffs, which we're going to get to in just a minute. Let me, just before we bring Remo back in, do a quick little look over a little golf report for our friends at Breezy Bend. It is the Cadillac Championship right now, and look at that. Cam Young, what a season he's had so far. He went 8 under. He is 8 under par, 64. You got Jordan Spieth and Alex Smalley at 7 under par right now. Just going down the list to see if we've got any Canadian content. Oh, there's my guy Akshay Bhatia. He's 2 under par right now. Nick Taylor's 2 under through 3. Tommy Fleetwood also 2. Taylor Pendrith 1 under par for the tourney. And here's our guy Sudarshan Yalamaraju. He's even through 16 holes today. Still in a good spot. Corey Connors even as well. Of course, our golf reports all season long brought to you by our friends and partners over at Breezy Bend. If you are looking for a great long-term home for you and your family on one of Winnipeg's top private courses, check out breezybend.ca or give a call to the course and talk to our pal Corey Johnson. An amazing course that's had major improvements over the last number of years. the best patio in Manitoba golf, and an incredible social scene. It's all waiting for you over at Breezy Bend. And I'm counting down the days. It's officially May tomorrow. I'm counting down the days to get out to Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge at the end of May. Some of my favorite days every year spent out at Aikens. Going to be going a little earlier in the season this year, but they are ready to go, heading out very shortly and getting things going for the 2026 fishing season. If you're looking for a world-class fly-in fishing destination where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aikens Lake is the spot. And as great as the world-class fishing is, the world-class hospitality is even better from the Aikens team and the Turenne family. Check out availability and options for the season today online at aikenslake.com. All right, Jake's going to join us in just a minute. Remo, let's fire up this Chud's Power Sports Power Poll for, of course, the great people up in Gimli. I know the gang in Gimli is going to be paying close attention to the Niverville Nighthawks because one of their own, Captain Adam Vigfusson from Gimli, will be leading the team to the Canadian Championship. That gets underway next week. We'll stay on top of that. But another great reason to head out to Gimli is to see everything they've got going on at Chud's, the best in motorcycles, ATVs, RVs, boats, and then once the snow flies, back to snow season. But Chud's Power Sports Power Poll, Reem, let's do an early look. Power Poll of early Conn Smythe contenders. And pretty hard to put this list together without having Dan Vladar of the Philadelphia Flyers. He was absolutely brilliant last night, shutting out the Penguins. And as I believe I was talking to Dusty earlier, Wyshynski actually had Dan Vladar on his heart ballot. It's been a great story for the former Flames netminder. He's certainly in the mix and can stay there if his team keeps on going. Brandon Hagel might deserve actually to be higher on this list, but with his team down 3-2 and what happened last night, despite his 6 goals, he's certainly in consideration, but you got to keep going. So Brandon Hagel's at number 4. The leading goaltender throughout the playoffs is Freddie Anderson. .955 save percentage, I think a 110 goals against average. Freddie's been phenomenal so far, as he was in the first 2 rounds of last year. The question is, will it continue? Jack Eichel, number 2. Eichel's been amazing and had a couple goals that are pulled off the board, including an OT winner. He's been the best player in that Vegas-Utah series, of which there have been many. Jack Eichel at number 2. And Remis, this number is going to probably surprise people, the number 1, but it's Jackson Lacombe of the Anaheim Ducks. Now, a lot of people not familiar with Lacombe, a younger defenseman, signed that massive deal in the offseason. But the Ducks are getting some attention now, and we're seeing one of the backbones to their team. He's playing 27 minutes a night. Up until yesterday, I believe, or the day before, was tied for the lead in scoring in the Stanley Cup playoffs. This is an absolute stud and a guy that's turning into a star. Maybe he already is one, but for folks that don't watch the Ducks very much, they're seeing him. And with what he's doing defensively and offensively, and with his Ducks 1 win away from sending the Oilers to the golf course, Jackson Lacombe at number 1 on today's Chud's Power Sports Power Poll. What do you think?
Good looking poll. Tough to come up with a poll. I mean, when the first round's not done, but that's what we do here. Have some fun and get the discussions rolling. We don't have any Avalanche on there. I think the Avalanche are in an interesting spot, at least in this round, where their team is so good and they swept. So you're not going to have the opportunity to put up as many numbers as some of these other series that have gone longer. And, they get kind of burned. It's like, well, they have McKinnon and they have so many good players, McKinnon, Makar, and H's. Like, how do you know who to pick? We'll see if someone emerges from that group. And no Minnesota, Kaprizov, Boldy, if they advance, I'm sure will be in the conversation. But
definitely. The one guy that was we're thinking Kaprizov. They still have work to do, but he could have easily been on the list. Taylor Hall, the other guy. Taylor Hall was the offensive catalyst. He was basically the offense for Carolina in the first round. Wasn't a ton of goals. He had 7 points in 4 games and sort of stood out amongst the Carolina guys. But as we go on, flowers right now for the Vladars, the Eichels, Lacombes. We'll see whether these teams can continue going. We've got a great slate of games tonight and tomorrow. 5 series remain. All are going to a 6th game. Will we get game 7s? Let's dive into the lines for the series and the games tonight and tomorrow with our guy, Jake Boland-Moss of Coolbet. JBM, what's good, buddy? How are you?
Doing well, Huss. Doing well. Fired up. I've been watching a ton of hockey, and I got to tell you, I'm probably going to jinx it tonight. I have been on an all-time game to go to overtime streak here. I've hit 4 in a row, 4 straight nights of picking just one game from the slate to go to overtime. You're usually getting 3-1, sometimes up to 4-1 on these games. So tonight, if people want to ride with me, I'm going Dallas, Minnesota. I feel like we're going to get a similar game to Pittsburgh, Philly last night, a game 6 where no one wants to make a mistake. Minnesota knows they got a chance to move on. Dallas wants to force a game 7 back home. I think it's going to be tight. I think it could go to overtime. Both games in Minnesota have already gone to overtime. So could we see a third one tonight? I guess we'll find out.
I love the pick. And I'll tell you what, I've just felt a little jinxed lately. I mean, I'm always doing these 3 gamers. I'm getting 2 and the Oilers, as much as I, kind of am hoping the Oilers can win this game and we get a game 7. I mean, games 3 and 4. Both had full tickets, all the games in, and then they managed to blow leads. And then last night, it was funny. We were sitting around at the end of the show, and I'm like, listen, I think we're going to get some OT tonight. I'm smelling 2 overtime games. So I went with Philly, Pittsburgh, and Montreal, Tampa. And, of course, we got 2 overtime games, but it was the other ones. But, I mean, listen, these games and these series that are remaining, you could make an argument for overtime in literally everyone because the margins between winning and losing, it's not like it would be a shock if any of these games were tight. We're almost expecting it to be right from the puck. Hell, that game 6 last night between Pittsburgh and Philly basically felt like we were in overtime from about 10 minutes into the first period.
From the jump, Huss, it was crazy. Like we'd flip over, so we were flipping between, the other game, Tampa and Montreal, and then we're flipping back to Pittsburgh, Philly, and it's just everyone's playing very timid hockey. You get a odd chance here and there, but it was very who's gonna make the first mistake? And really, when it came down to it, that icing by Pittsburgh was the one mistake that cost them in the end. So. It was a very intriguing game, and we're probably going to get a couple more tonight with 2 more game 6s on the slate. This first round has been unbelievable. Every game feels so tight, and like I said, the overtime run I've had here has been a lot of fun. But besides that, I'm having a hard time hitting other bets. I'll tell you that much.
Let's okay. So we've got all these game 6s. We could have 7 game 7s, but that's going to take the game, the team that it's down to win. So here are, you've got Minnesota up 3-2, Anaheim up 3-2, Buffalo up 3-2, Montreal up 3-2, and Vegas up 3-2. Here are the series prices on the underdogs, like the teams that are down 3-2. Edmonton plus 187 to come back and win their series. Boston plus 340. Dallas plus 245, Tampa plus 210. The Oilers, obviously, the shortest number of those teams that right now aren't there, that you still need to win 2. I guess we shouldn't be surprised that Edmonton at plus 187 and Tampa at plus 210, considering their pedigrees, are the shortest number. But when you look at that, for a team that's down 3-2, if you had to pick one of the teams that will actually move on and win their next 2 games, where are you going on that one, Jake?
Yeah, actually, my buddy brought me the exact same question today. He's like, which one of these teams is forcing a game 7 and then ultimately winning it in their game 7? We're in a situation where if these teams do win their game 6s, a handful of them are going to get home games. Tampa's going to get a home game in game 7. Dallas would get a home game in game 7. Edmonton would get a home game in game 7. So kind of looking at that, the one I kind of leaned towards was Tampa. It feels like, last night, a couple opportunities here where, they've let it kind of slip away and Montreal's found a way. the thing with Tampa is, can they go into the Bell Center and win a game 6? Like, that's going to be the big question mark is, are they going to be able to go in a hostile crowd down 3-2 in a series and find a way? They have the pedigree to do it. I don't know if that's the one. The value, I think, Huss, is on Dallas to me. Dallas, all they have to do is go into Mini tonight, find a way to get it done, whether it's a greasy win or not, and you get a home game, game 7. You're likely going to be a favorite at home in game 7, plus 245 to win that series. I think value-wise, it's Dallas for me. I think the team most likely to do it is Tampa right now. I just don't know. The injuries with the Oilers, they had a great game in game 5 to force this game 6. I just worry, can they make it happen for 2 more games? I'm not sure. The goaltending, can they get good goaltending and good, defensive structure that they can get them by Anaheim? I'm a little concerned there, especially with the number like plus 187. I'm looking a little bit more value, the 2-1s in the Tampas and the Dallases myself.
Yeah, I think you make a great point on Dallas. The one thing that's a real concern, though, is they just have not been getting it done at 5-on-5. Like, the goals in this series are 11-3 Minnesota at 5-on-5. And it's great that your power play's clicking, but you better find a way to do it at 5-on-5. And I don't know whether Minnesota has it in them to play a little bit more disciplined. That's never been their MO, but the way the power play's killing them, that they need to be a little bit more disciplined. If they do that, they could absolutely win. As far as the games tonight go, Dallas is plus 106 and Minnesota is minus 125. If you do like overtime, the draw is plus 305. And, we've seen as high as like plus 330s for some of these games. I'm not surprised that this one's closer to 3-1 because these teams have seen a lot of overtime so far, and it wouldn't shock anybody if we got some free hockey from the Twin Cities tonight.
Yeah, a lot of the times you can tell when it's going to be a closer overtime game based on what the money line odds are, right? Like, the closer we get money line odds, kind of the closer we get to this is really a coin flip, could go either way, and we could see overtime. Like, I think, I imagine that Edmonton game tonight is probably a little bit higher odds if you wanted to play the overtime in that one. Plus 340. Yeah, so there's my point exactly. Edmonton's a bit of a bigger favorite, slightly over Minnesota, minus 130 on the road. They're probably tipping their hats to Anaheim saying, here's your home game. But plus 340 if you want to play that one. I am on the Minnesota-Dallas one, going for 5 in a row here. So I've kind of hyped it up to all my buddies, and now on this show, I'm sure this is the one I'll lose. But I'll absolutely take 4-1 on these overtime bets I've been laying here the last few nights.
I would love it. I will say this. I loved what I saw from Edmonton in that game with their backs against the wall. The fact that McDavid played 24 minutes in a game that they were up, they didn't really dial it back for him. It was pretty concerning when, in a game that they lost, he didn't even get to 20 minutes. He does that in the first 50 minutes of most regular season games.
Well, Huss, he went into the game as a game time decision. We didn't even know if he was going to play, and he played 24 minutes. Like, that's crazy.
So I do think that they get it done tonight, and then we'll see what the Ducks are able to do. If you do want to jump on just a Ducks Wild gamer, that's plus 218. But I wouldn't mind putting something together for maybe a little prop one for tonight. What do we think about this game? I'll be honest, I like Kirill Kaprizov to score. He's had so many chances. He's gotten a ton of assists right now. There's been some other guys, Boldy in particular, that seem to have been the impact guys at scoring. To me, in a potential clinching series, feels like a game that Kirill the Thrill will have his fingerprints all over. So at plus 125, I like it. Robertson's plus 119. And then Kaprizov and Boldy are both at plus 125. Kind of feels like Boldy's been the guy the last couple games. Now it's time for Kirill to ice the Stars.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all, Huss. He had the big... He grinded out that empty netter. I know it's an empty net goal, and not all empty net goals are created equal, but that was a huge one to seal Game 5 on the road. I think he's a big game player, like you mentioned. I like the number at plus 125 on Kirill. What are you thinking here? You say goal scorer in one. I almost feel like you got to go goal scorer in the second game, and then you get a little 2-piece goal scorer combo, Kirill and maybe someone from Edmonton and Anaheim.
Let's see the Anaheim numbers. Anaheim, Edmonton. Gauthier, 123. McDavid, plus 123. Draisaitl, plus 134. He's the guy that I just kind of naturally lean. He's got 9 points already after coming off the Schneid. Zach Hyman, plus 175. Leo Carlson, plus 180. And then you get into some bigger numbers. Like, if you want to pick these off, I probably wouldn't suggest do it as part of a parlay. But some of the other guys like Podkolzin at plus 330, Seneke at plus 280, Mikhail Granlund at plus 280. He's been a monster in these playoffs so far for Anaheim. So there's a bunch of bigger numbers later on down the road. But
Kapanen the 340.
Yeah,
I mean,
Kapanen
he's been
as well.
buzzing.
But I think, in a game like this, you kind of have to look at the big guys. And I don't know. I'm thinking 29, Draisaitl.
Yeah, listen, us. I mean, I just looked at our lamplighters. Tonight we went Robertson and McDavid. So I think we could absolutely do a WST, Kirill and Draisaitl to get two different guys, get a little bit of a boost on it, maybe almost 5-1, and roll with that one tonight. Little goal scorer from each game.
You know what? Let's roll with that. Kirill Kaprizov and Leon Draisaitl both to score tonight. It's plus 426. We'll let Jake and the fellas do their magic, and we can get that one up for the people for a little two-banger. Just when we look at these games tomorrow, anything that stands out to you? I mean, they're all close to pick'ems. I mean, you've got the road team favors slightly in all three games. Buffalo minus 115, Boston minus 102, Tampa minus 114, Montreal minus 103. Same numbers, minus 114, minus 103, Vegas and Utah. I'll be honest, my favorite play is Buffalo in this one. I do think they come back and get it done. I think there's a good chance Utah gets this series back. And I'm probably lean Lightning, but man, the Habs playoff voodoo, that building, nothing would surprise me on this one. Do you have a solid lean? Or if you had to pick one team, you're literally a money line bet on any team from tomorrow, who's getting it?
Yeah, it's so hard, Huss, because I just hate so many of these teams. If I look at the three games, right, I hate the Bruins, so naturally I lean Sabres. I don't really like either the Lightning or Canadians, but, just being the Leaf fan that I am, I'm rooting for 7 in Lightning Canadians, so that would make me lean Lightning. And then naturally, Mitch Marner plays for the Vegas Golden Knights. I like Utah. I think the one I'd play, Huss, because I'd give the nod to the home team. I think Utah at minus 103 is a slight home dog to 4-7. I think that would be the ultimate lean for me if you're putting me on the spot here. I like the Mammoth. I think they've been playing pretty good, playing with Vegas. They go to overtime and lose it last night on a shorthanded goal, which is so tough. Oh. You lose in double OT on a shorthanded goal. But, great opportunity for them to force 7 and go back to Vegas with a chance to win that series. So I'm going to go Mammoth as my ultimate lean. Also, Patty is blowing up my messages right now. He said there's an overtime combo card we got up right now. Both games to go to overtime. Overtimers boosted up to almost 20-1, 1682 to 1938. And then he told me he is working on our lamplighters, our little WST lamplighters as well. So he is he's in the chat, he's talking, and he's firing up these.
Love it. What up, Patty?
These parlay stuff.
Well, you know what? While we're at it here, I mean, let's be proactive for tomorrow. We know the games, we've got the lines. Let's do the hat trick, the 3-gamer. We will take Utah, we will take Buffalo, and then let's take Tampa for the 7th game. What do you think about that?
Okay. So Buffalo to close it out, Tampa to 4-7, and Utah to 4-7. I like it, us. That's how I would have played it myself. I don't know about you, but that's how I would have played it.
I mean, that's what we're looking at. So we'll throw those in together, and whether that's today, later on, for tomorrow, we'll get that one up in the combo cards. It's something over 6-1. Okay, 2 things I quickly want to hit you with before we go. How are you feeling about the return of Matt Sundin that has been reported, and John Chayka as the potential new GM of the Leafs? Matt Larkin was on, and he goes, experienced former player along with young, analytic-driven GM. Sounds a lot like Shanahan and Dubas 9 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know. I got to see I got to see it before I want to reserve my judgment. I want to be a little more mature than I've been in the past. The Sundin thing intrigues me. I don't know how I feel about Chayka. I've seen a lot of like not impressive stuff about him. He's part of that front office or that upper management that got in trouble out in Arizona there, and he had to be reinstated in the league. I don't know. There's a lot of like, I don't know why. It's very concerning to me that this is the guy they've really narrowed in on. So listen, I want to reserve my judgment. Maybe this second chance is something that he's going to grab hold of, take advantage of, but I'm not really sold on it yet. The Sundin thing, I am intrigued by. I think he is like one of those guys that bled blue and white, understands what it means to be a Maple Leaf, has stayed within the team, as like their, as an ambassador or whatever, as an alumni, as many of them do. To take on a bigger role will be interesting, but you look at a guy like Joe Sakic, who was a monster in Colorado, knew what it meant to be an Avalanche, and he's in the upper management of the Colorado Avalanche, who are an incredible team. I'm not saying Sundin is Sakic. I understand that's crazy take, but it's worked out before, so it's not like bringing in Sundin is like the craziest thing that's ever happened. Chayka, I'm going to reserve judgment until I see what the next couple of years looks like.
The one thing I'll say, and Matt made a great point when we were talking about this. I mean, we can talk about the ups and downs of his prior term and every the other things that happened. You got certainly more experience. You probably learned some lessons. There's a big difference in running a team with the purse strings of the Toronto Maple Leafs and what he was dealing with in the desert in the middle of that fiasco that was the Arizona Coyotes. So it is intriguing. We'll see whether it happens moving forward. Last thing, vibe check on your Jays fandom. The wins are starting to come. Guys are getting healthy. Your Savage look good. The pen seems to have settled down with Hoffman doing the seventh inning, and it is Gausman Day starting off the trip. There'll be a lot of people from the Peg heading down this weekend. I didn't realize the series was starting already today. But Gausman minus 137 in the Jays on the road at Target against the Twins. Seems like things are coming around a little bit. I'm feeling a lot of optimism from my Jays friends.
Yeah, 3 straight series wins, so that's good. Obviously, you get your Savage back. Springer comes back yesterday, drives one in his first pitch he saw yesterday in a pinch hit situation. So, I'm starting to, it's still so early, Huss, right? Like, I think I saw a stat through the first 29 games last season. The team was 13-16, and it was the exact same record through 29 games this season. So really the first 30 games don't tell you the full story. The team ended up going on to win the AL East, won the American League, went to Game 7 of the World Series. We know the whole story. So I think you just got to slowly get these guys healthy, get some other guys opportunities, and I think you're going to have a really deep roster when everyone is healthy, mid-season, and hopefully you can just stay healthy. Yeah, I mean, health is the most important thing. I just said healthy like 100 times. So I think you understand where I'm coming from. Yeah, I'm excited with Gausman on the bump. You're always excited. Cease has been really good here to start. Trey comes back. The starting rotation is starting to round out here. Louis is clearly a closer mentality guy. He had almost a hiccup in his first go at the closer role a few nights ago, but the last 2 outings he's had in the 9th, he's been unbelievable. Struck at the side in his last showing. So I'm feeling a lot better about what they're doing. And Hoffman, kind of rolling into like a 6-7, setup man role. I don't hate it. Listen, you're going to have to use him. You're paying him the money. So you're going to figure out maybe Hoffman pitches his way back into a closing role. For now, I'm happy with Louis there. And I'm excited about the team. I think you win this series. You take 3 or 4 over the Twins and you're in a great spot, heading into May here.
Love it. Folks, we're going to load up these combo cards. Tonight, the Bluebirds boost a Gausman over 4.5 strikeouts and Big Earn to get a hit. That one's boosted to plus 146. The super boost is Joker over 24.5 in the T-Wolves Nuggets game and McDavid to get an assist. That's plus 114. We will have our 2-banger with Kirill Kaprizov and Leon Draisaitl score. We'll get that up as well. And then you see the overtimers. Double dose of OT. It's almost 20-1 plus 1938 all waiting for you. We'll load up our combo for tomorrow as well as the goal scorer tonight and try and make it happen. Jake, great chat as always. Enjoy the playoffs tonight and hopefully a nice win for the Jays to start off this series in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, enjoy the action tonight. Shout out to everyone in chat. Fun little talk with you here, Huss. And I'm actually going away next week, so I'll probably be out for a few weeks. I'll see you guys at the end of May. I'm going to Europe on Wednesday.
Really? What World
Yes, sir.
Championships?
Yes, sir.
Did you get named to the Canadian team?
No World Championships. The girlfriend and I are taking a nice long vacation, going to London, Paris, Scotland, and Ireland. So first time out to all those spots. Really excited. Trying to get all the work done, obviously, before I head out on Wednesday.
Patty, I know you're listening. If we could possibly get a prop up on whether there's an engagement picture on Instagram in the next 4 weeks, I'd appreciate that as well. Not to turn
Thank
up
God
the
my
heat or
girlfriend doesn't
anything,
watch
Jake.
this show.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Have a good
That's
one, dude.
crazy.
And have a great trip. We'll
All
stay
right,
in touch. All right.
Thanks. Sounds good.
There's Jake Bowen-Moss getting ready to it's just a regular trip. Don't worry. It's just a regular trip.
I was going to chime in and say, you're not going to propose, are you?
The minute you hear Europe, the trip like that, I mean, hey.
Yeah,
this is
long vacation.
Engagement season, I would imagine. There's probably a lot of that happening right now. Spring,
He said he's got to get ready. Does that mean the ring? Is that what he's referring to there?
Oh, that is good stuff. I'm sure Pat's having a laugh about it too.
He's in chat right now, typing LOL triple exclamation mark.
Gotta get the chat back up. I had Coolbet up so I couldn't see them all. Yeah, Jake, crazy ambush thing. You can clip that, Pat. You should clip that and send it to the friends and girlfriends mailing list. Just kidding, Jake. Just kidding. Don't want to turn up the heat anymore. Remo, what you were teasing something a little me behind the scenes. We got a little info on some Jets injury stuff. What's fill us in?
Yeah, well, we heard Elias Salamonson. He's going to be out for the playoffs. The Winnipeg Jets put out this release today. He's having shoulder surgery. Expected recovery is 5 to 6 months. So
What?
it's currently April. May. It's May. That would be November, if my math is correct. So he's going to miss, training camp, start of the season. This is a guy who the Jets were counting on to potentially be top pair, second pair D. So when you look at the offseason needs, needing a replacement for that, Logan Stanley available as a free agent.
We'll be going over the free agent board tomorrow when Matt Larkin drops it.
Yeah, and then Nikita Chibrikov, we noted it. He's not going to play for the Moose earlier. He sustained an injury this final game with the Jets. He's having core muscle surgery, out 6 to 8 week recovery for him. So that Salamonson one, man, that's significant, I think.
Yeah, listen, I mean, Elias is such an exciting prospect for the team, and not just a prospect. I mean, a player for the team now. You would think that I would have thought that he would have been playing in the top 2 pairings on opening night next year. That's probably not going to be the case. Now, if he has this surgery right away, May, June, July, August, September, end of September is 5 months. So that 6th month is October. So, I mean, I guess there's a chance maybe he could be in the mix and getting back on the ice, like as training camp sort of winds down. But I think you've got to assume that it's probably going to be 10, 15, 20 games before Elias will be able to contribute next year. And obviously Chibrikov, it says right here, both players are expected to make a full recovery. By the way, not to diminish these injuries, because obviously we were hoping that both of these guys will be big-time contributors next year. I do just want to quickly give a bit of a shout-out to the team and the graphics department. I can't remember an injury update being put out like this, and you got to love in a world of UBIs, LBIs, general body injuries, to actually have the shoulder and the ab graphic put in with the Jets injury update is this is the sort of thing I think we need to show appreciation for because we don't get it very often.
Yeah. Well, I had the graphic done for WST. They just sent out the release, which
you did that. This is a Michael Remis?
Yeah, I put this together.
You trying to get hired by them? That would be nice. Hey, this is the sort of thing that we need.
Yeah, I figured it'd be good to have this kind of stuff for the stream, but they put out the release with the text. I put it into the graphic. So they did say shoulder surgery, core. I've never seen a release that says core muscle surgery, but you know what, Huss? It's the off season. There's not going to be Jamie Benn on the other team to go and hack you where your reported injury is. So sure, why not?
Yeah,
say?
That's the abdominal surgery that would probably be normally referred to, earlier in the year. But I'm impressed with the shoulder and the ab thing. The graphic looks great. I was joking about you trying to go work for the Jets. I was a little worried that with your accounting background, you might have been seeing if there might be an opening at JP Morgan.
Yeah. No, I think those days are done. I think I made too many jokes for that type of world, but
that JP Morgan story is a wild one.
Some interesting news. I don't know if that's true or not, coming out of the financial sector. So you can go.
Somebody did make it, if the guy made it up, I mean the details in this. We won't get into it, but if you're interested, there's quite a salacious story of workplace impropriety from JP Morgan that is out there. Remo, fun show today. Great to have Tyrell Bauer on. Eddie Tait, of course. Really enjoyed the conversation with Matt Larkin. Always love having Jake on the show. What do you got tonight? Minnesota or Dallas?
I have Minnesota in my pool, so I need Minnesota to end it at home. This is their chance. They're at home. Man, you look at this Dallas D. Like, no Niels Lundqvist, like Tyler Myers, they're sitting
Who's
him.
in for Myers?
It is, I know who it is. Alex, well, it's their third pair, Alex Petrovic, who you might remember from the kick-in goal from last year's playoffs against the Jets. Everyone remember the goal where the Dallas player kicked it and it counted? And Leon Bichelle. And the second pair is Esa Lindell and Ilya Lyubushkin. And the first pair is Harley Heiskanen. I imagine Harley and Heiskanen are going to be playing big minutes. And like Wyatt Johnson, Robertson, Bork, Steele, Duchesne, Rantanen. So no hints still. It's game 6. Doesn't sound like it's going to be in for game 7. Never trust playoff injury reports. The guy could be day to day all the way to the cup final. I mean, we never even talk about McDavid being, quote, game time decision. And we're like, yeah, he's playing. And every post game interview he's like, oh yeah, I was definitely playing. There was no chance I was missing this. Like, why are they messing around
I mean, he
here?
has been hurt. He wasn't in the morning skate. I mean, anyone, especially on the Anaheim side, that thought they might get an Oiler team without McDavid probably was fooling themselves. But McDavid will be back tonight. I think those guys have a big game. I do really want to see. I mean, here's if you're just thinking about wanting game 7s and the drama of it. I mean, obviously you want the teams that win in game 6, that need game 6 to get them. These two teams would play on Saturday. So if Dallas wins, we'll get Minnesota, Dallas game 7 in Dallas on Saturday. And if the Oilers win, this series will be back in Alberta for the 7th game. And then all 3 games tomorrow, if they're extended by the Bruins, Mammoth, or Lightning, will be Sunday game 7. So there's the potential. We could have a triple header of game 7 of game 7s. Remo, just quickly before we go, let's give a couple Moose winners out, and then let's let everybody know to get their entries in winnipegsportstalk.com/contest, and we'll have some more to give away tomorrow. And just a reminder, as opposed to me just sending you a couple tickets like we've done in the past. We're going to send you a special code, one-timer. You'll get to go in and pick your tickets. And if you do want to, if you got some other friends that want to come or something like that, you'll be able to get additionals right there at that time and purchase them with it. So why don't you grab a couple to start it off?
Okay, let me just get these names right. Yeah, winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. We're doing the draw. And yes, as you said, it's a voucher for, 2 tickets. You can pick the game, but I'm just...
Yeah, and you can pick either game too, which is good because some people may be busy one day, not busy the other. You can go to either game 1 or game 2.
Yeah, and the other thing too, actually, the loophole in this, Huss, is you could actually go as a single to both games if you were to win the pair.
Ooh.
Did you think about that one?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I go to some games by myself, so I mean that
people do it, man. It's hard to find a person, so
maybe I would. I see Phyllis in the chat. Get it done, Minnie. I don't know. I just feel so dirty, like wishing anything positive for the Minnesota Wild. But
I don't feel great about it. But Dallas eliminated the Jets last year. Minnesota, they've had a lot of sports misery. They haven't won a playoff series since 2015. They really went all in on Quinn Hughes. As much as I don't like certain guys in their team, like Ryan Hartman and Marcus Foligno,
Jamie Benn.
Well, Jamie Benn's on Dallas, but it's like pick your poison on who you want to win. They're both Jets rivals, so like
I just would love to be able to keep hammering on the fact that they haven't been out of the first round since 2015, especially with everything they did this year. I mean, because Bill Guerin has done a great job at building that team.
It would look really bad, and Bill Guerin's just been doing too much winning with putting together Team USA, and with some controversial picks left off, they did win gold, and here they are with Minnesota. I mean, could he win gold and the Stanley Cup in the same year? Bill Guerin. Anyways,
makes me sick. All right, let's get these winners. What are we? All right, we got the wheel. Okay, good luck to everyone. And you'll email them.
I'll email them the code.
Win?
Yeah, it's a unique code, and I'll email the instructions later. So the contest is still open though. So if you're listening on the podcast or you're just tuning in, winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. Enter, and we'll do 2 more tomorrow.
Yeah, you know it. All right, so here is the first spin for our first winner. Who's it gonna be?
All right, Christine
Wolf. Nicely done. And we won't take people out, but whatever. It's just one win per person. So if we somehow end up on Christine again, we will spin again. So Christine Wolf, congratulations. 2 tickets for you.
And then I have their emails, so I'll contact them later this afternoon.
That's the key of...
Okay, Jared. And now Jared didn't put in his last name, so I had to use a unique number code in case there was another Jared.
But you have his email.
Yeah, I have his email. He didn't put in a last name. I don't want to give out his email.
Jared 3341. Congratulations. Mm-hmm. You'll always be Jared 3341 to us at WST.
He doesn't. Yeah, he's not gonna know what that means, but I guess it gives you a unique identifier when I export. So you could each person got pretty much 2 entries for just automatic entry and subscribing to our newsletter.
Beautiful.
Oh, there she is. Hockey Mom in chat says that's Christine.
Oh, yeah. Hockey Mom, right on. We'll enjoy the game, and to Jared as well. So, folks, if you're just popping in late, winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. Get your entry in. Subscribe to the mailing list for an extra ballot, and we will have some more tickets to give away tomorrow. And Hockey Mom, as I mentioned, if you want to grab, you can purchase another couple with your seats. It's a little different than normal. Just look at the instructions when Remis sends you. You can go in, pick your game, pick your seats, and get any additionals you want. So congrats to Hockey Mom and to Jared. That is going to do it for us today. Big show tomorrow. By the way, do we have a status report on Ken Wiebe? Ken's been hospitalized with a fingernail injury and was unable to join us today, Remo. Do we have any update on how our dear friend Ken is doing?
I actually haven't heard from him. Ken texted me, was supposed to come on today, texted me this morning that he took a puck to the finger and it split his skin above the nail. It sounds actually really annoying. He's at HSC.
Painful too.
Yeah, hoping to get in a minor injury clinic. So he doesn't know how long it's going to take. So they couldn't.
He might be there till Saturday. I mean,
yeah,
you got something to do with a finger at the emergency room. That could be. He might be needing to make a call.
Should have asked.
Sorry,
I was going to say, should ask for a picture. We could show. Imagine if we had the picture of Ken's finger here.
Do a little vigil for the well-being of our pal Ken. Hopefully his hand is back. And that's important for Ken because Ken needs his finger for golfing as we're just about getting onto golf season. Be getting him out to Breezy at some point soon. So jokes aside, I hope Kenny's feeling better and he got that taken care of. We will have a plethora of guests tomorrow, including the original Gus Bus. David Gustafsson's going to join us tomorrow. We'll have marbles. We'll have lots on tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll get ready for the big 3 games tomorrow of Game 6s. So make sure to join us. But in the meantime, enjoy the games tonight. And Blue Jays as well, kicking things off in the Twin Cities for their annual trip to Minnesota. Kind of sad that I just realized that was now because with the Jets not in the playoffs, I might have gone. That being said, I'm pumped for the Moose on the weekend, and I will be there. Thanks to the sponsors, all of our guests today, Matt Larkin, Ed Tait, Tyrell Bauer, Jake Bowen-Moss, of course, Michael Remis, and all of you for hanging around. Have a great one. We will see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. for a big Friday edition of WST.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.